On the other side, Konoha Hospital. Son, did you fail this Chunin selection? Looking at the young man lying on the hospital bed with bandages all over his body, a middle-aged man standing next to him asked tentatively. Hearing the man's words, the young man said depressedly, "Don't mention it, I encountered a monster in this exam. What a big snake came out of the channel. When I was fighting with another team, this guy rushed out and snatched the scrolls of both our teams. This is simply breaking the rules. I really don't know why a guy like this comes to participate in the Chunin selection." Is there such a thing? The middle-aged man was a little surprised. Is not that right? I also encountered it, but I was hiding with my teammates in a very hidden place, but I don't know why I was found by these 3 guys. 3 guys and a snake, absolutely disgusting. Yes, I can't fight, and I can't run and run, alas. The injured people on the beds next to them also sighed helplessly. It was obvious that they were all dissatisfied with the bad behavior of Orochimaru and the other 2 people. You said that it would be enough if you just grabbed a pair of scrolls. Taking other people's scrolls is the best way to do this. Ellie? This is totally not abiding by the rules of the game, and it cuts off people's escape. The most important thing is that the giant python is too big, and has rough skin and thick flesh. With their strength, it is simply difficult to compete. If they cooperate with Tong, the ghost of the spirit python is invincible in the jungle. No one is their opponent at all. The same conversation also happened in other places. It seems that all the Konoha ninjas who have participated in this round of the Death Forest exam are discussing the same topic. One name, Orochimaru. Come on, cheers! At the Konoha barbecue restaurant, 5 people are toasting and celebrating here. Of course, what they are drinking is not wine. Among the 5 people, except for Orochimaru, the other 2 are Heitake Sakumo and Beirahu. Heitake Sakumo and the others met at the barbecue restaurant, and Beirahu came specifically to congratulate the 3 of them. Now Heitake Sakumo is a young man. He succeeded in being promoted to Chunin this time, but his 2A teammate failed. As for Beirahu, it goes without saying. Beirahu, who has not studied forbidden arts, is actually quite handsome, with silver white hair, delicate facial features, and a gentle demeanor. It is just his lack of strength that makes him. There was always a deep sense of inferiority and envy of Orochimaru and the others in his eyes. Orochimaru, although I saw that you were very strong from the beginning, I didn't expect you to be so strong. If I have the chance, I really want to discuss it with you. Heitake Sakumo said with a smile. Today is a day off and there is no need to gather, so in the face of Jiraya's strong invitation to him, he came. There is a chance. What? I'm so happy today, so don't talk about this. Come on, let's have a barbecue. Okay. The 2 put the meat on the oven, and the tender beef was roasted to a sizzling sound. Several people were very happy to upgrade to Chunin, especially Jiraiya. He kept pulling several people to eat, drink and have fun. The Chunin exam was over, and everyone relaxed for a rare moment. Jiraiya's teasing was also good at stirring up the atmosphere, which made Orochimaru feel a lot better. Although he is still a little out of place with these little brats, it feels like but it has gotten much better. After eating barbecue, everyone discussed going to the bathhouse to take a bath. Heitake Sakumo announced that he had something to do and left first. Several people didn't care about this. The 3 of them entered the bathhouse one by one. Well, Tsuna she didn't move her hands, because there was no one in the women's bathhouse now. She didn't have a companion, so there was no point in going there. Soaking in the hot water, Orochimaru leaned his head behind him, closed his eyes comfortably, and enjoyed the hot water. The pleasure brought by the body. I have to say that taking a hot bath can indeed eliminate fatigue and make people relax. Even Orochimaru likes this feeling. It's time to accumulate some funds. Orochimaru murmured. In this world, money is still very important. Why do ninjas do tasks? Except for some special tasks, most tasks are not for money. Although now research no longer costs him orochimaru, he has his own money, and he also gets a lot of salary every month, but he has his own ideas. How can this mission commission be enough? Orochimaru knows very well that even in this world, not everything can be done, it can be solved by force, and some things are better solved with money than force. Thinking of this, Orochimaru already has a plan in mind. Early the next morning, Konoha held a Chunin promotion ceremony for the ninjas who were promoted to Chunin this time. The scale was small, that is, these ninjas who had successfully advanced were called to the training ground to gather, and then listened to what Sarutobi Hiruzen said. After finishing speaking, the three were given Choyunin vests and Konoha ninja uniforms. From then on, Orochimaru and the other three were officially promoted to Chunin and began to embark on the road of completing missions. Ding! Cell division has been unlocked successfully, and the technology can be unlocked in the next stage, biological genetic evolution fluid. In the 21st year of Konoha, Orochimaru completed the cell transplant. In the 22nd year of Konoha, Orochimaru completed cell division. In the 23rd year of Konoha, Orochimaru completed the biological genetic evolution fluid. In 3 years, Orochimaru completed 3 technologies, and at the same time used the time on the mission to visit all the countries surrounding the Land of Fire. Now, although he doesn't have a thorough understanding of the small countries around him, he at least knows something about it. During the development period of Konoha, the 3 of them didn't have much to do. Apart from going out to do tasks, they returned to the village and were busy with their own affairs. Scientific research, medical ninjutsu, senjutsu. At most, we occasionally make appointments to have dinner together, chat, and fall in love. Fall in love? Well, at least that's what Tsunade thinks. As for Orochimaru's current scientific research progress, cell transplantation and cell division are not amazing abilities. Orochimaru in the original novel can do it. Needless to say, cell transplantation. Cell division refers to the process by which living cells multiply and divide from 1 cell to 2 cells. The cell before division is called the mother cell, and the new cells formed after division are called daughter cells. It usually involves 2 steps, nuclear division and cytoplasmic division. During nuclear division, the mother cell passes genetic material to the daughter cells. Well, to put it simply, cell division is the basis of cloning technology, and it is also the basis for the original Orochimaru to survive to the finale. Split your own cells, inject your own chakra into them, and then use the curse to seal them into other people's bodies. Once the main body dies, the cells sealed into other people's bodies will begin to grow with the help of chakra, and finally the seal will be released to achieve resurrection. This kind of resurrection ability is even more powerful than Zioqiang's. However, cell division alone cannot yet realize cloning technology and resurrection capabilities. Some scientific and technological extensions were still needed in the middle. Orochimaru didn't waste time on studying because he was systematic. Instead, the main focus is on biological evolution fluid. Although this has the meaning of not making progress and enjoying the success, Orochimaru feels that if there is a system and does not use it, then he is a fool. Biological gene evolution fluid has similar functions to gene fusion fluid. In addition to the basic strengthening function, it can also fuse many special genes to allow your pet to evolve special functions. There needs to be a gap of 1 year between the use of each evolutionary fluid, otherwise the second one will be easily ineffective. At this time, Orochimaru already had a lot of evolutionary fluids in his body. Standing in the open space above the Hokage rock in Konoha village, Orochimaru was thinking about which psychic beast he should evolve. Which function should your psychic beast evolve first? Orochimaru hasn't been to Ryokai Cave yet, and he doesn't have time to look for it. Therefore, he didn't know if there were any other more powerful snakes in Longdi Cave besides the White Snake Immortal and 10,000 snakes. In other words, the best thing he can do now is evolve 10,000 snakes. It's just that this guy hasn't channeled Orochimaru yet, so Orochimaru is not planning to evolve it first. Forget it, just evolve a piece of positive evolution fluid first and you can make it again if you run out of it. It will waste a little time at most. Thinking of this, Orochimaru nodded secretly, and had already thought of the evolutionary route in an instant. Blood, seals. Psychic techniques. Bang! A burst of white smoke flashed by, and a huge flower python as thick as an adult's calf appeared in front of Orochimaru. Owner. Orochimaru nodded, and then took out a test tube with a light red potion. Come on, open your mouth. Hiss. The flower python doesn't have much intelligence, so he didn't think too much. He was very obedient and opened his mouth. This flower python is the first snake Orochimaru has ever met, and it is also the one Orochimaru's parents raised. Look. For the sake of this guy trying his best to protect the grass sword for himself, Orochimaru decided to give it the first opportunity to evolve. The whole bottle of evolutionary fluid was poured into the mouth of the flower python, and it didn't leave any drop. Swallowed it. Soon, the power of the medicine began to spread in its body. Evolution begins. Hiss. The flower python let out a cry of pain. Then, it ran around like a madman. I don't know how long it ran before it stopped and crawled quietly in front of Orochimaru. It seems that it has adapted to the power of the medicine. Next, you just need to wait for it to complete its transformation. Orochimaru, Orochimaru. A beautiful figure wearing a white top ran towards Orochimaru from a distance. Tsunade? At this time, Tsunade was already 13 years old, and her upper body had begun to grow slowly. It was just the speed of growth. Ahem, really not dare to compliment. It feels only a little better than Ichima Pink Chuan. Even the smallest bra can't hold it up. She has asked Orochimaru many times if he doesn't mind her being small. Regarding this, Orochimaru also took the trouble to answer. He told her many times that he didn't dislike her. Because he knew that Tsunade was a slow-growing type, and once she developed, her size would be enough to make all men intoxicated. Tsunade was naturally very satisfied with Orochimaru's answer, and Orochimaru became the default type. She was even more satisfied with the matter of her boyfriend. Because in her mind, there was no one in Konoha who was better than Orochimaru of his age. Not only was he handsome, but he was also strong, and most importantly, he was very talented. Have you not seen that this guy has become the youngest and greatest scientific researcher in Konoha? Therefore, Tsunade is also very proud to be Orochimaru's girlfriend. Even his parents did not say anything when they found out. Be opposed to. What's wrong? Orochimaru turned around slowly. The teacher is looking for you. Know what's going on? It seems to be related to the recovery potion. I don't know the details. That's it. Hearing this, Orochimaru glanced at the evolving flower python on the ground. Forget it, go back and evolve slowly. Bang! The flower python turned into white smoke and disappeared. Tsunade naturally took Orochimaru's arm and walked towards the leaf village with a happy face. However, her happiness did not last long. Because when I came to the Hokage rock and was about to jump down, I happened to see several corpses placed on the top of the Hokage building from this angle. Several Konoha Jonin were reporting something to the Hokage on the roof with serious expressions. The third Hokage also had a solemn face. Of course, these are not the most important. The most important thing is the appearance of these corpses. Tsunade couldn't believe her eyes. She let go of Orochimaru's hand and fought for her life. Run towards the Hokage building like normal. Tsunade. Seeing Tsunade appear, the third Hokage was stunned for a moment, then looked guilty. Sorry. When Orochimaru arrived at the Hokage building, Tsunade collapsed and knelt on the ground. Covering her pretty face with her hands, she kept sobbing. Orochimaru glanced at the 6 or 7 corpses packed in bags on the ground, and then at the third Hokage. He couldn't help but frown. The zippers of the bag were all half opened, and you could clearly see who the dead were. Thousand Hands clan. Among the 7 people who died, 4 were members of the Senjo clan, and the 2 leaders among them were Tsunade's parents. At the moment when he saw the bodies of so many Senju clan members, Orochimaru suddenly thought a lot. He knew that only Tsunade and her brother were left in the Senju clan. But he also knew that there were still many Senju clan members after the third Hokage came to power, including Tsunade's parents. But recently, over the past few years, for some reason, the Senju clan seemed to have fewer and fewer members. Why is this happening? To be honest, Orochimaru once suspected that it was the third Hokage who did it. Because when Hiruzen Sarutobi was the Hokage, the Senju clan also had many people were dissatisfied with him. After all, the Hokage originally belonged to the Senju clan. Although the third Hokage gave Orochimaru a very kind-hearted impression and was a very good person, at least Orochimaru was okay with him. But eradicate dissidents. This is something that every superior person likes to do. Orochimaru has seen this kind of thing too much on Earth's TV. Even if he hasn't seen it with his own eyes, he is still familiar with it. So there is no guarantee that the third generation of Hokage will not become the leader after he ascends to the throne. In order to consolidate his position, he ruthlessly wiped out the entire Senju clan. But his intuition told Orochimaru that the third Hokage would not do this, let alone the third Hokage, even the more ruthless Danzo would not do this. For no other reason, just because the second generation Hokage is their teacher. This is not to say how great the teacher is. It is because, the clansman who killed the previous generation Hokage, or the clansman of the current Hokage teacher. Those Umbu who once belonged to Hokage, they will definitely not agree. Even if some people are forcibly brainwashed and reluctantly agree, there will definitely be people who switch sides and leak the news. Just like the original Danzo asked Kakashi to assassinate the third Hokage, and Kakashi switched sides before the battle. This risk is too great. If you are not careful, you will lose the support of the people. No matter how ruthless Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo are, they would not dare to take this risk. Then, here comes the problem. If Hiruzen Sarutobi hadn't done it, the Senju clan would have. Why have the tribesmen died one after another in the past few years? Especially in the past few years after the death of the second Hokage? In peacetime, so many people died? It is obviously abnormal. These people now, once he died, there were only 3 people left in the Senju clan. Uzumaki Mito, Tsunade, and Naoki. Seeing Tsunade's collapse, the third Hokage couldn't bear it, but he still said to the ninjas next to him with a serious expression, "I know." "Who did it?" "I don't know. When we arrived, they were already, no sign of life." "Okay, I understand, you go." "Yes." Several Konoha Jonin responded respectfully, then turned and left. Swish. Several Umbu appeared behind the Hokage in time. "Check." The third Hokage uttered one word in a cold voice. "Yes." "Whoa." Several Umbu didn't hesitate, and disappeared in place with a trace of afterimage. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru once again confirmed his thoughts. It seems that he really didn't do it. At least that's what it looked like on the surface. Tsunade. After the Umbu left, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at his crying disciple with a sad expression on his face. After a while, he uttered a few words. It's a ninja. Ninjas must have the consciousness of a ninja. From the moment they are born, death is always around them. This is something every ninja must understand as they grow up. But again, how many people can remain calm when they really face death? When their loved ones die in front of them, people who have never experienced the pain will not understand. This is the case for Tsunade at this time. Except for crying, I no longer know how to express her current mood. 3 days later, Konoha Village Cemetery. Looking at the 2 tombstones in front of her, Tsunade burst into tears. Orochimaru and Jiraiya stood beside her quietly. Neither of them offered any words of comfort, because death was too common in the world of ninjas. And in this case, any words of comfort are ineffective. Orochimaru. I want to stay by myself for a while." "Good." Orochimaru nodded without hesitation and looked at Jiraiya next to him. Jiraiya finally did not make a mistake this time, and followed Orochimaru and turned around and left with a tacit understanding. The two left, leaving Tsunade alone. People kneel in front of the grave and cry quietly. Orochimaru, are you really not going to stay and comfort Tsunade? After leaving, Jiraiya couldn't help but ask. Comfort? Orochimaru said calmly, what happened to me didn't happen to me, so what can I do to comfort me? If something happens to you, there is no reason to comfort you. What Orochimaru said made Jiraiya stunned. He didn't react until an Umbu appeared in front of the two of them. Although I don't understand it, it seems to make sense. Orochimaru, the Hokage is looking for you. Let's go. Konoha village, laboratory base, a separate room. Orochimaru, how is Tsunade now? Sarutobi Hiruzen said with concern. He was in a somewhat unhappy mood right now. Any Jonin is a valuable resource for the village, not to mention the two people who died were Tsunade's parents. Orochimaru said slowly, after all, I lost my parents, so I think it will take a long time to recover. Well, let her have a good rest, and then I will enlighten her after I finish my work. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused. At this point I came to you today to ask you, can the problem of the recovery potion not being used continuously be solved? There's no way around this. Orochimaru replied calmly, although the medicine has a certain cell regeneration ability, the cell regeneration ability is not strong. It can even be said to be very weak. Cells in the human body will be replaced automatically, and each organ has its own cell replacement cycle. Before this cycle is over, it is already the limit to be able to withstand two drug effects. Is that so? It seems that it can only be used this way for now. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly. A year ago, based on reports from ninjas who were on missions, they discovered that the recovery potion researched by Orochimaru had a drawback that was not a drawback. That is, it can only be used twice within a year. If you use it for the third time, the effect will be greatly weakened. However, Orochimaru said at that time that he was developing another potion, so Sarutobi Hiruzen did not disturb him immediately, but asked Yuan Ye to try it first. As a result, Yuan Ye couldn't handle it, so he told Orochimaru about the matter not long ago and wanted to ask Orochimaru if he could solve it. He should have asked clearly 3 days ago, but unfortunately, Tsunade's parents were killed inexplicably 3 days ago, and there were a lot of things for him to deal with at the moment. So I had to postpone this matter until today. It's just now. Since Orochimaru has said this now, there is definitely no way. In fact, this result is not unacceptable to them. After all, it can only be used twice a year, so it's not a side effect at all. He just wants to see if he can keep improving. Teacher, if there is nothing else. Oh, one more thing, the volunteer to test the drug has already been selected. Ninjas are trained and brainwashed since childhood. Therefore, most ninjas are absolutely loyal to the village. In order for their village to become stronger and to protect their families, many people are willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the village. Volunteers are one of these people. I am willing to become the experimental subject of the village's scientific research project and the subject of research and observation. He is willing to sacrifice everything for the village, even his life. The fearless spirit of sacrificing oneself for everyone, very great. Orochimaru can't do it anyway. Boom, boom, boom. Come in. The door opened, and an Umbu came in. Orochimaru was a little surprised to see this Umbu. He was actually an acquaintance? Are you the volunteer this time? Yes. Umbu nodded slightly. Can I ask why? Because I trust you. Umbu said without hesitation. Haha, let's get started. Orochimaru smiled faintly and didn't talk nonsense. After saying that, he directly drew out a scroll. Bang! White smoke rose, and a light green reagent appeared in Orochimaru's hand. Orochimaru handed the reagent to the dark man in front of him. Senior Fox, as the sole person in charge of this project, I have to wake you up once, but this will lead to death. I'm ready to wake up. Fox Yugu. Seeing the fox's attitude, I have to admire the brainwashing skills of Konoha's top brass. To make a person give up life and death and willingly become the village's experiment? Is this a real ninja? But Orochimaru is too lazy to think about that. Anyway, the experimental subject is not me, and it is just a test drug, so there will be no problems at all. You must know that these pharmaceutical products can pass the system test. A weakened version of the primary gene enhancement solution can. What's the problem? The reason why I said this will kill people just now was just to see the fox's reaction. The result was as expected. Looking at the green liquid in Orochimaru's hand, the fox couldn't help but swallowed. Although it was already done. I am mentally prepared, but I am still a little scared when it comes to this kind of thing. After all, he might really die. But fortunately, he is a ninja after all, and he is a specially trained Umbu. His mind is extremely tough, and even if he dies now, the village will also help him take care of his family. Thinking of this, he slowly took the potion from Orochimaru's hand. Just drink it directly. If you want the medicine to take effect faster, use chakra. Good, okay. The fox opened the seal of the reagent. After hesitating for a second, he took off his fox mask. Behind the mask, he was the face of a middle-aged man in his 30s. The middle-aged man glanced at the reagent in his hand, and then drank the strengthening liquid in one gulp. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru said calmly, "Teacher, I'm leaving first." "Well, just leave the observation to us." Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. After Orochimaru left, Danzo, Koharu and Mito Kaden came from another room. They seemed to have been waiting nearby. They didn't speak after they came in. Instead, he stared at the changes in the fox. The fox was sitting cross-legged on the ground, holding his breath and concentrating. At this time, he only felt a heat starting from his stomach as the center and spreading towards the whole body. This feeling was very comfortable, just like it was like taking a hot bath in a bathhouse. Soon, layers of fine sweat began to appear on his forehead. But that was all. Because this was a modified and weakened version of Orochimaru, the effect of the medicine was not as strong as the one he used. Orochimaru he thought that increasing the amount of chakra by 50% at one time was a bit exaggerated for ordinary ninjas, so during the production process, he reduced the potency by 70% according to the overall proportion. However, even if the potency is only the normal version 30% of the total, that was enough to surprise them. Although Orochimaru delayed taking out this potion for 3 years, if Konoha researchers were to study this weakened version of the genetically enhanced liquid, they would be given 30 years. They may not be able to study it. Therefore, 3 years is already very impressive in their minds. How? 10 minutes later, when he saw that the fox opened his eyes and his body seemed to be normal, Danzo couldn't wait to ask. There was no way. This kind of black technology was no longer something that their Konoha senior officials could control. And this technology, it is directly related to the improvement of Konoha ninjas' combat effectiveness. Therefore, even Danzo could not help but feel a little nervous. After hearing Danzo's question, the fox subconsciously wiped the sweat from his forehead. Well, there are black impurities. But there is not too much. But when he sensed his physical condition, he was stunned. Report to Danzo-sama, the amount of chakra is about 50%. 50%, so much. Danzo and several senior officials showed incredulous expressions at the same time. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen was surprised. Although Kitsune is an Umbu, he is not a Jounin, but an elite Choyunin. But at the same time he is also an adult. For a 30-year-old adult, the amount of chakra has already been determined, but after using this thing, the amount of chakra can actually increase by 50%? What is this concept? So, do you feel any discomfort in your body? Danzo continued to ask. Danzo, as a high-ranking official in Konoha, certainly knows that Konoha also has some secret medicine that can temporarily enhance the combat effectiveness of ninjas. For example, the Akimichi clan's 3-color pill. However, the three-color pill can only be used by the Aikido tribe, and it lasts only a short time and has extremely high side effects. No matter how awesome a drug is that has a short duration and strong side effects, its value is limited. Therefore, after developing a new drug, what they care about most is not the efficacy of the new drug, but the side effects and whether they are acceptable to them. If side effects are not considered, they can develop a drug that is 10 times more powerful than this. After hearing Danzo's question, the fox moved his body. I want to report to you, Danzo-sama, that I don't feel any discomfort at the moment. What's the opposite? On the contrary, I feel a lot more comfortable. Sarutobi Hiruzen explained. According to Orochimaru, this medicine increases all aspects of physical strength and mental strength, and it works quickly without any side effects. At least, there were no side effects on him. Simply incredible. Yes, even though I have heard it once before, I still can't believe it. Xiao Chun, who went to bed, also echoed. A child, in just a few years, developed 2 completely different but extremely effective medicines. This talent is simply. Perhaps, as Sandei said, it was the death of his parents that had a great impact on him. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. But even so, let's observe it for a while first. If there are really no side effects. He said nothing because the others knew what he meant. If this kind of medicine really has no side effects, then of course there are as many as there are available. Permanently increasing the amount of chakra is equivalent to permanently increasing a ninja's combat effectiveness. For them, this is simply a miracle. After turning to bed, Koharu, Mito Katoen and Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at each other, and then nodded to each other. Only Danzo looked towards the direction Orochimaru left and fell into deep thought. Sister, don't be sad. In the Senju clan, a 3-year-old boy with brown hair was comforting the girl in white clothes in front of him with a sweet voice. Tsunade slowly raised her head and saw the cute appearance of her brother. She didn't know what to do for a moment. How to answer? Although she had already had the consciousness that a ninja should have, her mentality couldn't help but collapse when she saw the corpses of her parents in front of her. At that moment, she felt as if the sky was falling. However, now after so many days, her sad mood gradually recovered, and she saw such a cute little brother again. She felt complicated for a while. She and her 3-year-old brother Naoki are the only ones left in the Senju clan. After rubbing the other person's little head, Tsuna smiled. Naishu, sister, don't be sad, you can go and play by yourself. Sister, can you come and play with me? This. Tsunade hesitated. How can she have the time to play with a 3-year-old child now? Please, sister, play with me, hide and seek with me, okay? Naoki's little hand held the corner of Tsunade's clothes and kept playing coquettishly. Naoki was only 3 years old, and Tsunade hadn't told him about the death of his parents yet. So he was very carefree. Hide and seek. Tsunade was stunned. The rope tree chick nodded like rice. Yes, sister turned around and counted 10s in her heart. After counting, my sister came to me. Good, all right. In order not to disappoint her brother, even though her heart was still sad, Tsunade could only reluctantly agree. Great. Now, sister, turn around quickly. Naoki cheered, then asked Tsunade to turn around and count. The moment Tsunade turned around, Naoki ran away quickly. Just because I was young and didn't pay much attention, I bumped into someone accidentally and was knocked to the ground. Ouch, hiss, it hurts. Rope tree. Hearing Naoki's cry of pain, Tsunade panicked. When she turned around and saw the person coming, she was stunned. Grandmother. The moment Tsunade saw Uzumaki Mito, she could no longer bear the sadness in her heart and threw herself into her arms. Woo, grandmother. Looking at the only 2 children of the Senju clan, Uzumaki Mito felt helpless. In the past 2 days, she had to visit the 2 siblings every day, and every time Tsunade saw her, she would burst into tears. Although Tsunade is a ninja, in the final analysis, she is still a 13-year-old girl. Okay, Xiao Zhang, don't cry anymore. Uzumaki Mito gently patted Tsunade on the back, kept saying comforting words, and at the same time pulled the fallen rope tree up. In fact, when Tsunade's parents died, the sadness in her Uzumaki Mito's heart was no less than that of Tsunade. You must know that Tsunade's parents are also her children. However, after all, she was a strong person who came from the Warring States period like the first Hokage, and she had already taken life and death lightly. Having seen too many separations of life and death, her heart became numb. Even if it is the death of a loved one, she has already been mentally prepared. Chakra amount increased by 50%. So much? Early the next morning, the Hokage's office. After listening to the third Hokage's story, Orochimaru couldn't help but be stunned. The primary gene enhancement solution can increase the amount of chakra by 50%. Now after being weakened, the effect has been reduced by 70% on the original basis. In other words, based on this data, the amount of chakra increased by the fox will not be more than 20%. But why is it still 50% now? Orochimaru's thoughts were racing in his mind. It only took him a moment to understand the reason. Indeed so. The third Hokage said calmly, and so far, there have been no side effects. Of course there will be no side effects. Orochimaru has no doubt about this, but it increased by 50%? Because everyone's physical condition is different, so the effect will be different? Because this is to strengthen genes, so the better the genes, the worse the effect? Thinking of this, Orochimaru nodded slightly. According to normal development, when he grows up, the amount of chakra will definitely be much more than that of the fox. Therefore, his genes are inherently better than those of the fox, and the effect will naturally be weakened? To put it simply, everyone's physical condition is different. The physical condition is different, and the amount of chakra is naturally different. The same primary gene enhancement solution is given to people from the Uzumaki clan or the Senju clan. If used, it may have no effect at all. But if it is used on those ninjas whose physiques are not very good, or even weaker than civilian ninjas, the effect may be multiplied several times? Haha, that's interesting. In fact, after doing research for so long, Orochimaru should have known this a long time ago. It's just that there are too many things that he needs to think about, and this strengthening liquid has not been used by anyone else except himself. Therefore, he didn't think about it, or he didn't care about it at all. Therefore, the situation of the fox did surprise him. The third Hokage talked with Orochimaru for a while in the office, and then the conversation between the two ended. Seeing his disciple's achievements, the third Hokage didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He was the teacher, the professor, when it came to ninjutsu and combat. But when it comes to scientific research, he only has a superficial understanding of it. No, he doesn't even have a superficial understanding of it. It can only be said that I know some of the most basic things. Now, Orochimaru has such outstanding talents in both areas, which sometimes makes him wonder if he is qualified to be his teacher. But fortunately, at least so far, the third Hokage's combat effectiveness is still much stronger than Orochimaru's, and he still has many secrets in combat and ninjutsu. Therefore, he didn't think too much. After chatting for a few words, he started to get to the main topic of the day. Orochimaru, there is a task here that you need to complete. What task? Bring this document to the daimyo of the Land of Grass, and then bring back the daimyo's reply. Since there have been a lot of things going on recently and there is not enough manpower, I can only trouble you to make a trip. No problem. Orochimaru agreed smoothly. It happened that he also had things to attend to in other countries. However, judging from Tsunade's current situation, Jiraiya and I can only go together. Well, just the two of you, and Tsunade, just leave it to me. Well? Just the two of us going. Standing at the door of his house, Jiraiya couldn't help but be stunned when he heard the news brought by Orochimaru. They had always been 3 people doing tasks together, and suddenly one person was missing, and they didn't feel used to it. Orochimaru was slightly stunned. He nodded. Well, her current condition is not suitable for the task, so let's leave it at that. We will meet at the entrance of the village in an hour. Good. Jiraiya nodded without hesitation. Orochimaru told Jiraiya about the mission, and then returned to his house and started preparing himself. There were no ninja tools, equipment, or Chuunin vests. Less. In Konoha village, genin actually do not have real uniforms. Most genin clothes are casual clothes. But when you upgrade to chunin, the village will issue uniforms and vests. Because chunin do the missions are all dangerous. These equipment not only allow others to better identify your camp, but also play a certain protective role. Of course, another important reason is that the chunin vest is a tactical vest. There are many pockets on the vest, where you can put some special ninja tools and scrolls, which are very helpful for ninja battles. After Orochimaru returned home and prepared everything, he took out a small scroll and spread it out. This is a time and space scroll. Well, okay, this is just a cool space scroll. Just like the one used every day in the original work. There are black runes all around and a white space in the middle. Place the item in a blank position and inject a small amount of chakra to seal the item in a different space. When needed, unseal the item and take it out. This scroll is more troublesome to make and requires a certain amount of space talent to make. Not everyone has space talent, but it is considered very rare, as long as you know a little bit of ninjutsu such as necromancy. Needless to say, Orochimaru and the other three have been using this thing since a long time ago. Like the small scroll Orochimaru is holding in his hand now, there is only a blank space in the middle of the scroll, so it can only seal one thing. After Orochimaru spread out the scroll, he placed a metal box that had been prepared next to it in the center of the scroll, and then raised 2 fingers. Boom! After a puff of white smoke, the box disappeared, and the word box appeared in the blank space of the scroll. Orochimaru rolled up the scroll, tied it up, and put it in his vest. Repeat this 3 times before it is over. Normally, there are only 3 scrolls that Orochimaru brings, one containing the healing potion and the other containing the weakened version of the primary strengthening fluid. The last one is the sealed money box. Although these things can be thrown directly into the system's space warehouse, it is easy to arouse others' suspicion when the space warehouse is taken out. Therefore, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Orochimaru did as the Romans did and brought 3 scrolls with him. Of course, now, the scrolls have changed from 3 to 6. After gathering what he needed, Orochimaru put on his backpack and prepared to go out. Unexpectedly, as soon as he reached the door, he met Tsunade coming towards him. At this time, Tsunade was also fully armed. When she saw Orochimaru coming out, she couldn't help but froze, and then quickly said, "Orochimaru, do you want to go on a mission? Take me with you." Orochimaru paused. "You, better." Well, much better. Then let's go." No matter which life he was in, Orochimaru was the kind of person who didn't talk much. Therefore, even if Tsunade's parents died, he didn't have many words of comfort. Of course, this does not mean that Orochimaru is not comforting at all. The reason why he didn't say anything was because it was superfluous to say anything at this time, and the other reason was because in this world, it was too normal for his father to die, his mother to die, and his younger brother to die. Having seen too much, Orochimaru also became a little numb. "Why did you come to me dressed like this?" Orochimaru glanced at Tsunade, who was fully armed. "Originally, I was just here to come back to the team. I didn't know you were going on a mission today." "Is that so?" Orochimaru nodded thoughtfully. "It turns out that it was just a coincidence." "Then you go back and take your luggage. I'll wait for you at the entrance of the village." "Good." Tsunade replied decisively. Half an hour later, at the entrance of the village. Looking at Tsunade, who appeared at the entrance of the village, Jiraiya was stunned, but he, who is usually funny, seemed unusually quiet today. None of the 3 of them spoke much. "Run directly towards the target location, the country of grass." Orochimaru. Tsunade, who was running, suddenly said. Can you tell me how you felt when your parents died? Tsunade's voice was calm, and Jiraiya, who had always been noisy, was surprisingly silent. After hearing Tsunade's words, Orochimaru suddenly thought of the feeling he had when he was in prison and knew the news of his mother's death. At that time, I really want to kill everyone at all costs, especially the culprit who framed me. I want to cut him into pieces, but now. It's been too long, I forgot. Forgot? Really forgotten? That's definitely impossible. It's just that there are some things that just add to the sadness by saying them. Orochimaru was not in the habit of remembering pain. Do you really think that you are the protagonist of a tragedy and that the whole world will revolve around you? Don't be naive. Everyone would be the same without the earth. Forget. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Tsunade, who was running, was stunned for a moment, then looked bitter. Grandma said, maybe you can give me the answer, so you don't know it either. Grandmother. Orochimaru couldn't help but think of that middle-aged woman in white robes with a kind face. How could she think so highly of him? And say such things to Tsunade? What's the answer to this kind of thing? When conducting psychological counseling training, you should be mentally prepared. What's more? Besides, you have a younger brother. Orochimaru said calmly. To be honest, when he said this, he did not base it on his own memory. It was based on the actual situation. You must know that in this world, all your relatives will die, and you will be the only one left in the end. There are many ninjas everywhere. But are these people alive tenaciously? Let's not talk about others, let's just talk about Orochimaru now. Doesn't he have no relatives? Tsunade still has a grandmother and a younger brother. Indeed, she has already much better. Younger brother? Tsunade was stunned. An extremely cute little boy with long brown hair seemed to appear in front of her. The scene of the boy begging her to play games with a sweet voice made her heart warm. Yes, she also has a brother. Thinking of this, she felt much better, and subconsciously looked at Orochimaru, who was running fast in front of her. At this moment, she actually saw sadness in Orochimaru's back. Orochimaru, Tsunade whispered. He also has a younger brother, and nothing seems to be left. The Kingdom of Grass is a small country between the Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Fire. The territory borders 4 countries. In addition to the 2 countries just mentioned, there is also the country of Rain in the west and the country of Taki in the east. Because they are among the big countries, they, like the Kingdom of Tien, have been plagued by wars all year round. But they are better than Tien no Kuni because they have their own ninja village. And the strength of the grass ninjas is pretty good for me. This is not the first time Orochimaru has come to this country. He has come twice in the past year. In my memory, the Third Ninja World War, the decisive battle between Shinobi and Konoha, took place in this country. After the First World War, they were forced to form an alliance with Konoha due to Konoha's strength. The 2 sides also began to have trade relations. Because there are no telephones in this world, if the bosses of the 2 countries want to communicate, they can only communicate through letters. Sending letters and documents are generally done manually. Using psychic beasts or ninja beasts to convey messages is a way for ninjas to convey information to each other. And this method can only be used between several people who are familiar with each other. It also involves the training of ninja beasts and breath perception. In short, communication between countries can only rely on letters or scrolls, and can only use human power. The country of grass is huge, at least much bigger than I remembered. But Orochimaru was not in a hurry. He kept walking and stopping all the way, and finally arrived here in about a week. Within this week, Orochimaru could clearly feel the changes in Tsunade's emotions. I feel like the old Tsunade will be back in a few days. A ninja from Konoha village. Outside the daimyo's mansion in the Kingdom of Grass, 2 daimyo guards blocked the way of Orochimaru and the others. Because the safety of the daimyo is very important, no matter how chaotic the kingdom of grass is and how small the ninja village is, those who protect the safety of the daimyo are still very capable. Ninja. Visual inspection, at least the level of special jounin. Well, when it comes to special jounin, we have to mention the difference between jounin and special jounin. Jounin is the backbone of a ninja village. They are known for their outstanding wisdom and bravery. Standing at the top of the ninja legion, they can use release physical skills, illusions, and advanced ninjutsu that shake the atmosphere and tremble with blood in front of the battle. In addition to leadership skills, they also require ninjutsu and analytical skills. With outstanding performance in all aspects, it can be said to be an all-round ninja. Only such an all-round ninja can be called a jounin. A special jounin is not strong enough to become a jounin, but he has some special abilities. Ninjas who have made great achievements in the field. Their strength is generally above the chunin and below the jounin, and they belong to a very special type of ninja. For example, the current Orochimaru can actually be called a special jounin, because he is in terms of scientific research, he is better than everyone in Konoha. Well, there is a letter that needs to be delivered to your name. Orochimaru glanced at the daiming mansion in front of him and spoke calmly. Just a moment. After the grass ninja said this, he turned around and entered the daiming mansion. It seemed that he was going to inform the daimyo. Daimyo is the power that overrides the 5 cages. Speaking of daimyo, some people may think that such a powerful ninja can actually listening to the orders of a weakling like the daimyo. This is simply a shame for ninjas. In fact, this is easy to understand. Just like the emperors in ancient China, no matter which dynasty, the general's combat effectiveness is generally stronger than that of the emperor. Why doesn't the general go be an emperor? The answer is simple, because running an army and running a country are not the same concept at all. Even if some generals succeed in seizing power unwilling to accept others, they will repeat the same mistakes in the end because of weak governance. Not to mention that ninjas can only be regarded as superiors. A killer who can't stand on the stage is simply not worthy of the rank of a general. The topic is a bit far-fetched, but in short, Orochimaru and the 3 of them completed this mission very smoothly. Facing the power of Konoha, the daimyo of the land of grass did not dare to show any slights to them. Prepared a very comfortable rest environment for the 3 of them. However, the 3 of them naturally cannot accept this. Because they are used to being free, they will feel a little uncomfortable living in a place like daiming mansion. And Orochimaru there were still things of their own to do. So the 3 of them found a hotel in a small town near the country of grass, asked for 3 rooms, and waited for the daimyo's reply. After the 3 of them moved in, Orochimaru did not stay. Are you going out again? Tsunade looked at Orochimaru who was about to go out, with a puzzled look on his face. Orochimaru nodded slightly. Go out and wait for the daimyo's reply. You are enough. How long will you go this time? As usual. Orochimaru said calmly. In the past, he would go out for every mission, and it usually took less than 2 days. Tsunade was not surprised by this. Okay, you go early and come back early. Orochimaru nodded, turned, and left. After leaving the hotel, Orochimaru briefly identified the direction, and then walked slowly towards the direction of Kuzayak village. Kayan village is not far from Damingfu in the country of grass. The land of fire is such a large territory, and it only takes a day's journey from Konoha to Damingfu, and that's by walking. It only takes 3 or 4 hours to run like a ninja. The distance between the daiming mansion in the country of grass and the hidden grass village would be less than half an hour if one were to run at ninja speed. Orochimaru was not in a hurry this time, so he walked away. First, he found a random place, changed his clothes, and then put on a human skin mask. Soon, he turned into a young ninja wearing casual clothes, with flowing long hair, slightly pale skin, but extremely handsome. Yes, he's in disguise. Disguised as myself in my 20s. He needs to use another identity to go to Kayan village. He is not famous yet, so he is not afraid of being recognized by others. As for what to do in Kayan village? Of course it's for money. Maybe someone here may want to ask, why use a human skin mask instead of a transformation technique? The answer is simple. Because of the transformation technique, although the transformation is more complete, chakra is needed to maintain the transformation after transformation. In the transformed state, you cannot fight normally. Once you enter a battle or are attacked, the chakra used to maintain your transformation will become unstable. When this happens, you will be forced to return to your original form. This is not conducive to Orochimaru's actions. Orochimaru's height is not particularly tall. The tallest among the three ninjas is Jiraiya. In the original book, his height reached 191 centimeters as an adult. In the original novel, Orochimaru's height changes all the time because he keeps using Fuso reincarnation. However, his actual height will not exceed 180 centimeters at most. Orochimaru is now 13 years old. Because people in the Naruto world mature precociously and he has used strengthening potions, his current height is already 170 centimeters. At 170 years old, he puts on a human skin mask and pretends to be himself in his 20s, so that no one will suspect him. The village chief of Kayan village is a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s named Moriyama Yu. At this time, he was in the village hospital, looking at these seriously injured subordinates and thinking about the future development trend of Kayan village. The country of grass is a small country, so naturally there are not as many ninjas in their village as there are in the 5 major countries, and there are tens of thousands at every turn. The total number of ninjas in their village is only about 1,000. Except for those on missions, those seriously injured, the old, weak, sick and disabled, the number of ninjas left behind in the village would not exceed 300. Civil wars continued in their country, and the ninjas in the village often died of serious injuries. There were originally few ninjas, and they were often attrited. This development trend made him very annoyed. I remember that the mother of Xiang Lian in the original novel was brought to this country with Xiang Lian. After discovering that biting her had a special constitution that could heal wounds, she was bitten to death by these seriously injured ninjas from the land of grass. Well, it's a bit tragic. But fortunately, Xiang Ling's mother's age should be a little younger than her. At this time, he was living happily in Uzumino country village. This needs a blood transfusion. That one over there needs surgery. Damn it, this is hopeless. In Kusagakuer Hospital, countless seriously injured ninjas are lying on various beds, groaning in pain. There are only doctors in their village, and there are no medical ninjas, so very few can be completely cured after serious injuries. Looking at these wounded people, Moriyama Yu sighed helplessly and looked at the ninja captain next to him. Why are there so many wounded this time? I heard that they were attacked by the gang from Yuyan village. Yuyan village? Damn it, these bastards from the land of rain have finally relieved the pressure brought by Konoha and IWA Ninja. Why are they here to join in the fun? Yu Moriyama was a little irritated. Only he understands what it feels like to have a country bordering 3 powerful countries. Yes, in their minds, the rain country to the east also belongs to a powerful country. No, it should be said, even in the minds of the 5 major countries, the current rain country is considered a powerful country. Because they have a long famous ninja demigod, Sancho Hanzo. This, hearing Moriyama use words, the ninja captain shook his head and smiled bitterly. Who doesn't know that compared to the 4 surrounding countries, their Kayan village is the weakest? Is the Takigakuer village to the east better than them now? If people want to bully us, what can we do? Moriyama Yu saw the helplessness of the ninja captain. He slowly walked to the 2nd floor window of the hospital, looked into the distance, and took a deep breath. I think back then, our Kusagakuer village almost unified the entire ninja world, but I didn't expect that we would be reduced to this situation now. Well, unify the ninja world. The ninja captain was stunned and obviously didn't react. When did Kusakure village have such a glorious day? How come I haven't heard of it? But just when he was about to say something more, a kusakure in uniform he ran over here in a panic. Mr. Village Chief, Mr. Village Chief. Speak. Yu Moriyama said a little irritably. He was already in a bad mood now, but when he saw this guy's panic, he was even more angry. There is a young man who calls himself White Snake and wants to see the village chief. White Snake. Hearing this name, Moriyama Yu was stunned for a moment, and then quickly realized, is it him? Where is he? Take me to him quickly. Long time no see, Mr. Village Chief. Kuzayan Village, reception room. Looking at the village chief and two jonin who appeared in front of him, Orochimaru smiled evilly. His voice became hoarse and low. His pale skin, coupled with his long hair makes him look a little weird. White Snake. It's a code name Orochimaru gave himself in order to hide his identity as a Konoha ninja. Although this code name is obvious, everyone knows it's a fake when he hears it. But everyone knows the rules and they are just tacitly understood. Looking at the extremely handsome middle-aged man in casual clothes in front of him, Moriyama Yu couldn't help but take a deep breath. It's been a long time, Mr. White Snake. Haha, Mr. Village Chief, let's not say any polite words, let's get down to business. Mr. Village Chief, how have you considered what happened last time? The effect of the medicine is indeed miraculous, but it costs 500,000 taels per tube. Do you think this price can be negotiated again? 500,000 taels a piece is too expensive? It seems that the village chief has no sincerity. If this is the case, then forget it. Orochimaru said, getting up to leave. Stop, do you think this is a place where you can come and leave whenever you want? A Kusagakuer shouted angrily and blocked Orochimaru's way. He, Mr. Village Chief, what does this mean? Do you want to take action? Orochimaru said nonchalantly. The corners of his mouth still maintained an evil smile. Disguise, like the art of transformation, is also a required course for every ninja. But comparing the two, the disguise technique is more complicated. Therefore, many ninjas usually use transformation techniques, but rarely use disguise techniques. But for Orochimaru, the disguise technique is easier to use than the transformation technique. Especially in this case. At this time, because he is an adult soul himself, and he has been struggling in this world for so many years. Therefore, in terms of speech and behavior, he is very close to the evil Orochimaru in the original work. A hoarse voice, a confident smile, and a demeanor of contempt for everything. He is Orochimaru. Hearing Orochimaru's indifferent words, Moriyama Yu quickly raised his hand and signaled the grass ninja to retreat. The grass ninja was a little unwilling to see this, but the ninja was not the sect's younger brother. Although he didn't understand why his village chief was so polite to this boy, ninjas absolutely obeyed the orders of their superiors. Therefore, although he was unwilling to give in, he could only step aside. Mr. White Snake, can't we really discuss the price again? Does the village chief think that 500,000 taels to save a ninja is expensive? Orochimaru said without looking back. The indifference in his tone revealed that he was telling the other party clearly. I am too lazy to tell you. If you think it is expensive, then I will leave directly. Moriyama Yu had no choice but to say, then Your Excellency, can you guarantee that every medicine will have the same effect? Do you think that if we can create this kind of potion, we will defraud you of millions of taels? Orochimaru's hoarse voice was full of mockery. Are you looking down on us? Hearing this, Moriyama Yu lowered his head and pondered. A year ago, this white snake found him and claimed to be from some organization. He also said that he would recommend a powerful healing medicine to them, priced at 5 dose of 100,000 yang. In less than 3 minutes, it is enough to bring a seriously injured ninja back from the brink of death. You know, most of the ninja's injuries are trauma caused by fighting. This kind of wound requires a long time. It takes time to heal. There will be a series of injury risks such as infection, excessive blood loss, disability, etc. The most intuitive point is that during the injury, the ninja will lose combat effectiveness, which will greatly affect the mission execution rate of their village. Especially it was after Murakami endured the injury. So they were very interested in the healing medicine recommended by the White Snake, but they didn't believe it at all. Because 3 minutes of healing was really unbelievable to them. But the White Snake didn't care at all. Before leaving, he left a potion for them and asked them to try it on a seriously injured ninja. If it didn't work, they wouldn't charge for it. If he comes back next time, if he thinks it's okay, he can trade directly. After Orochimaru left, they didn't, either. But thinking of giving it a try without getting pregnant, I gave the potion to a seriously injured patient. After using it, the potion was so powerful that they conquered them. The recovery speed visible to the naked eye was simply amazing. Thinking of this, Moriyama gritted his teeth. Okay, Mr. White Snake, I want 100 pieces first, how do I deal with it? 100? Orochimaru paused, turned around and looked at Moriyama. Haha, it seems that I underestimated the courage of the village chief. What's the meaning? This kind of medicine is very precious, and the production process is complicated. Not enough. Of course not enough. How many do you have? 40, that's the limit. Okay, 40, I want them all. Orochimaru curled his lips and said, then please, Mr. Village Chief, come with me. How? Didn't you carry it with you? Certainly. Orochimaru smiled and said, this is the territory of your grass ninjas. What if you kill people and steal goods? Killing and stealing goods? Moriyama raised his eyebrows, and then laughed. Ha ha ha, Mr. White Snake is joking. With your strength, are you still afraid of killing people and stealing goods? Better be careful. Orochimaru also smiled. Both of them looked straightforward and generous, but they both looked like old foxes when they smiled. Moriyama did think about killing people and stealing goods. After all, this was a person of unknown origin in their village, even if he was strong. No matter how strong you are, you can't just kill if you want. After killing, no one will know. But again, killing always needs a reason. Either to rob wealth, or to rob sex, or because of national hatred, or because of family hate. Even if it's just because you don't like it, it's still a reason, right? But after killing someone, you won't get any benefit at all, and you will even spend a lot of money. So what's the point of killing this person? It was an unnecessary move. This was also the reason why Orochimaru dared to make a deal with them alone. He believed that the mayor of Kusugakure village was not a fool. The two sides reached an agreement, and Orochimaru turned around and left. Get your money ready. Moriyama also ordered to the subordinates next to him. Although they are just a ninja village in a small country, they can still easily come up with this little money. Mr. Village Chief, do we need it? The one who spoke was the subordinate who stopped Orochimaru before. He didn't finish what he said, but people who understand will understand. After hearing his subordinate's words, Moriyama naturally understood what he meant and waved his hand casually. No, it's only 20 million taels. There is no need to offend such a strong man for a mere 20 million taels. Strong? The subordinate was stunned at first, and then looked confused. Where did this guy come from? Moriyama seemed to understand his subordinate's thoughts, and explained, you were not here when he came here a year ago. So you don't know. This guy defeated 7 ninjas from our village by himself. 7 ninjas? This subordinate was obviously dissatisfied. That doesn't mean he is a strong man, right? Couldn't the Supreme Brother also defeat 7 ninjas? It is difficult for ordinary ninjas to deal with 7 ninjas, but for a jounin with good talent, this is not a big deal, right? It is also very difficult for a stronger jounin to kill 7 chunin. Is it possible? Moriyama laughed. What if these 7 ninjas include your Supreme Brother? After that, Moriyama smiled and patted his shoulder, then turned around and left the living room. Include the Supreme Eldest Brother? In Kusagakure village, there are no very strong ninjas. Even their strongest village chief is only an ordinary jounin. Supreme is a powerful jounin in their village. His strength is similar to that of their village chief. When he first came to Kusakure village, Orochimaru was surrounded as a spy, and then the two sides had a fight. However, those surrounding Orochimaru were only a few Choyunin. After Orochimaru defeated several Choyunin, he fought against this supreme jounin. This guy is indeed very strong, and the ninjutsu he uses is also the confinement technique that Kusakure village is good at. Orochimaru was almost defeated at his hands without using his Sharingan and psychic technique. Fortunately, there was no danger in the end, and everything was still within control. In this world, only the winner has a say. Therefore, after Orochimaru defeated Supreme, he successfully told them his purpose. Then the scene just now happened. In the reception room of Kusakuin village, the Kusanagi subordinate finally came to his senses. At this time, he finally understood why his village chief was so polite to this guy. Even Washang was defeated, so one can imagine the strength of this person. With such strength, it is very difficult to defeat the opponent. Facing such a powerful person, without being driven by hatred, there is no need to fight to the death. Therefore, cooperation is the best choice. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath and then prepared the money obediently. There is no way, he must listen to the village chief's orders. Trading takes place outside the village. Moriyama Yu knew the rules of the transaction very well, so he only brought 2 capable guards. As for Orochimaru, although he is very powerful now, it will be difficult for the ninjas left in Kusagakure to keep him when all his cards are used. But as a ninja, you should be vigilant. Therefore, now that he has no subordinates, he can only use his clone to trade on his behalf, and while trading, he also controls invisible flies to monitor the surrounding situation. But fortunately, the other party didn't seem to be planning to take advantage of others, which made him couldn't help but take a look at Moriyama Yujao. At least it proves that this guy's vision is not so short-sighted. Transaction completed quickly. Mr. Whitesnake, happy cooperation. Moriyama Yu looked at the 2 iron boxes in his hands and said with a smile. Ha ha ha, Mr. Village Chief, see you later. Orochimaru received the money, shrugged casually, and then disappeared with a teleportation technique. Seeing Orochimaru leave, Moriyama Yu couldn't wait to return to his village with the potion. There were 2 boxes, and each box contained 20 potions neatly. They were arranged neatly. The potions inside were all wrapped in isolation cloth, and they looked extremely high-end. To be honest, he was really afraid that what Orochimaru gave him was a fake. The reason why he trusted Orochimaru was just because of his own intuition. Yes, it was his own intuition. I remember when this guy gave them the potion directly for the first time, his eyes, his conversation, and his expression all revealed extremely strong confidence. This kind of confidence cannot be faked. He was convinced of this. It was precisely because of Orochimaru's confidence that he chose to believe in the other party. But then again, if this was really a fake, the loss this time would be huge. Come on, give it to them to try first. Yes, village chief. The subordinate took a potion and walked directly to the ward. 500,000 taels per dose, this guy is just drinking money. The chief of Kusakuin village's heart was bleeding. But fortunately, Orochimaru didn't have the habit of shoddy goods, and he didn't seem to intend to trade with them just once. Therefore, the first potion was used on a seriously injured ninja. After seeing the effect on his body, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was even more surprised by Orochimaru. Who is this guy? Not only is he not weak, but he also has so many powerful recovery potions? Number 9. Village Head. Let's do some research. There are 600,000 bottles of this medicine. If they want to use it, they can come to me. Yes. Number 6. Mr. Village Chief. Take a potion to the laboratory and let them analyze its ingredients. Yes. The orders were issued one after another, and Moriyama Yu breathed a sigh of relief again. He still understands that the wool comes from the sheep. How much money you paid for it, you can get it back from others at a higher price. Anyway, that's it. He couldn't let the village lose money. However, he still underestimated the popularity of this recovery potion. Even if it cost 600,000 a pill, there would still be an endless stream of people buying it. This was especially true for those jonin who were not short of money. If he could spend money to alleviate the pain and avoid the sequelae, there would be no hesitation at all. Unfortunately, there were only 40 potions in total, and he had to keep 2 potions to analyze the ingredients. Therefore, only 38 potions could be used. Boom, boom, boom. After leaving Kusakure village, it was already dark, and Orochimaru found a place to rest for the night. The next morning, Orochimaru came to a closed iron door again and knocked on the iron door. Who? Wow! Soon a bald man with a mustache pushed open the iron door. When he saw Orochimaru in casual clothes, he couldn't help but froze. Who are you? His expression was a little confused, as if he didn't know Orochimaru. Ha ha ha, don't you remember me? Orochimaru's hoarse voice sounded again. It's you. Hearing Orochimaru's voice, the bald man with a mustache reacted instantly. A year ago, the young man who gave him a strengthening solution to sell? Come in quickly. The bald man with a mustache quickly gave way to the side. Orochimaru walked in slowly. The mustache stretched out his head and looked around, then closed the door and locked it. About half an hour later, Orochimaru walked out slowly. The bearded and bald man greeted each other with a smile. There is no doubt that he is a black marketeer. Orochimaru's 20 weakened primary gene enhancement fluids were sold to him. The process is the same as that of Kisakuin village, and the selling price is not expensive. One piece of 1.5 million taels, 20 pieces, 30 million taels. This was calculated by Orochimaru based on the proportion of technology points he needed. All raw materials of the primary strengthening liquid require 200 technology points and it should have sold for 1 million taels according to the proportion. But because there are a lot of rare medicinal materials required, and most of the raw materials come from the system. Therefore, after diluting the medicinal effect, calculated according to this ratio, 1.5 million taels is almost enough. Looking at the 5 money boxes in the space warehouse, Orochimaru was satisfied. He nodded. A money box can hold 10 million. Now, with 5 boxes, it is considered to be 50 million taels. This trip is not in vain. Making money was a goal Orochimaru set 3 years ago. Using scientific research results to make money is what he believes is currently the most labor-saving and fastest way. Giving technology to the village is considered a contribution to the village, and he himself will not get much money. Just like the initial recovery potion, in addition to the initial 2 million taels given by Sarutobi Hiruzen, there was also a fixed salary of 100,000 taels per month. He didn't say much about this. After all, the village did not use this to make money, it just sold it to the ninjas in its own village on the basis of the cost price, plus a processing fee of 10,000 taels. In addition, some rare medicinal materials are limited, and the annual output is only about 1,000. With such an output and such a price, the village cannot make any money at all. Naturally, it was impossible to give Orochimaru too much money. Originally, Orochimaru thought of hooking up with Danzo first to obtain funds from him. However, he couldn't let Danzo know about some technologies. Therefore, he must have his own funds to establish his own experimental base. It was also because of this that Orochimaru decided to make money on his own. Selling these potions to neighboring countries can not only increase the price tenfold and earn a lot of money, but it will also not be discovered by the village. The village is short of rare medicinal materials, so it can only make 1,000 sticks a year. But Orochimaru was not lacking. In Orochimaru's own system wall, the total price of the raw materials for the gene repair solution is only 100 technology points. If you only buy 2 rare medicinal materials, it will only cost you 20 technology points. 20 science points for 1. 40 branches only require 800 technology points. 800 technology points for him who has completed 3 more technologies, is not worth mentioning at all. 3 years ago, he had 23,000 technology points left. Now, excluding the expenses of manufacturing these raw materials, he had 48,200 points left. There's simply no way to use it up. The most important thing is 40, which is a very small quantity. It is estimated that even the seriously injured ninjas in Kusakure village may not be enough. So Orochimaru was not worried about them being brought to the battlefield and being discovered by Konoha. 3 iron boxes, each iron box can hold 20 sticks. 2 boxes contain healing potions, and 1 box contains a weakened version of the primary enhancement fluid. In just 2 days, everything was sold out. 50 million taels, it's not too much, it's not too much. If you just eat alone, your daily expenses will be about 200 to 300 taels. That's about 6,000 to 9,000 taels a month. A Jonin risks his life to do an S-level mission, and the mission commission is only 2 million taels. And it requires a team of people. Therefore, judging from these data alone, 50 million taels is still a lot. However, this world is flat. Because there is a black market in this world. In the past 3 years, every time he went to work in a place, he would become familiar with the situation in that place. This includes the black market situation. The black market is no better than Shinobu village. When a ninja village accepts a mission, they usually consider who the mission target is and whether killing the target will affect relations with neighboring countries. In short, they will decide whether to accept the task after weighing the pros and cons. But the black market is not so particular. They are entirely for those who are only interested in profit. There are all kinds of tasks here. Not only are there people looking for shopping, there are also people who want to kill mission targets. Those who are looking for shopping are not limited to ordinary items. They need a wide variety of items, including various human organs. For example, heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. Another example is the Sharinon. And the targets for killing include everyone, not only political figures from various countries, but also powerful ninjas from the ninja villages of great countries. These tasks are extremely difficult, and after completion, there will be serious consequences. Of course, high risks also bring high returns. Just like the original Lan's head is worth 30 million taels, Asma's head is worth 35 million taels. It looks like the bounty is high, but it goes without saying how difficult it is when you kill them, and after killing them, you will face the endless pursuit of the number 1 ninja village in the ninja world. Therefore, it is up to you to decide which one is more important. As for why Orochimaru sold the repair fluid to the village and the strengthening fluid to the black market, this of course involves a market demand issue. I won't go into details here, but it's easier to sell to the black market than to the ninja village. Moreover, it will not increase the combat power of other countries and cause trouble for itself in the future. Sure enough, making money through scientific methods is the fastest way to make money. In the evening, Orochimaru murmured to himself as he slowly walked back. A trip out costs 50 million taels, which is much higher than the mission commission. Especially in this war-torn world, selling things related to the strength of ninjas, even more, that's right. The price has increased tenfold, which is a huge profit. Even he has to sigh. As for whether these 2 medicines will be used for laboratory analysis by these people to copy the same medicine, Orochimaru has no idea. Don't worry. Just kidding, as a time traveler, don't you know about technological monopoly? The medicines and important materials he sells are all taken directly from the system. Let's not talk about whether the scientific research equipment in this world can analyze the contents. Even if they can analyze the ingredients, they have never heard of these raw materials. So, analysis, copying? It doesn't exist at all. He believes that it won't be long before the entire ninja world will live under the shadow of its own technology monopoly. That is, Orochimaru was currently halfway up a mountain, slowly heading towards the town where Tsunade was. This mountain is very high, and you can see many scenes in the distance from the top. And Orochimaru saw a figure in the haze. It's just that he couldn't believe his eyes. Because that figure had the shape of a killer, wearing black clothing and a set of heavy armor. He also carried a round fan on his back. Uchiha Madara? Orochimaru really can't believe his eyes. But he can be sure that he saw it right. Although he does not have the Sharingan now, after his mental power has improved, his golden snake eyes are still astonishing. But Uchiha Madara, why are you here? While thinking, the figure carrying a fan in the distance has disappeared. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. I remember that during the Third War, the battle place between Iwa Ninja Village and Konoha Village was Kusanagi country. Uchiha Obito, who was the enemy of the entire world, was also saved by Uchiha Madara in the country of grass. In other words, Uchiha Madara is really in the country of grass? Thinking of this, Orochimaru did not hesitate. With a flip of his wrist, 2 invisible flies appeared in his hands. Soon, the flies flew up and rushed towards the direction where Uchiha Madara disappeared. Others don't know about Uchiha Madara or think that Uchiha Madara is dead. But as a time traveler, it was impossible for him not to know. Uchiha Madara had a decisive battle with the first Hokage at the end of the valley, but escaped by using the Uchiha forbidden technique Izanagi. Then he hid in the dark and laid out the infinite Tsukuyomi. Although he was also used by Black Zetsu, most of the things in the ninja world were indeed caused by this guy. This is a fact. So after Orochimaru hesitated for a while, he decided to follow him and have a look. If you can find where Uchiha Madara lives, you can have many more trump cards. Whether it's Uchiha Madara's genes, the reincarnation of the Dirty Land, or the whereabouts of the great conspirator Black Zetsu. You can use it yourself. Thinking of this, Orochimaru gathered chakra at the soles of his feet and ran towards Uchiha Madara. I remember that Uchiha Madara died during the third battle. But now? World War II hasn't even started yet. Judging from the timeline I have figured out, there are still about 20 years before the Third War. Nagato shouldn't even be born yet. In other words, he still has the reincarnation eye? Don't follow too close. Orochimaru quickly made a judgment in his mind. In the jungle, a figure is running fast. In less than a moment, Orochimaru had arrived at the place where Uchiha Madara was found before. After being a ninja for such a long time, tracking and other things are not a problem. Although he is not as proficient as the Inuzuka, Abarame, and Hinata clans, he still understands the most basic things. The footprints on the ground were obvious. Maybe Uchiha Madara didn't expect that someone would notice him at this time and place. After Orochimaru followed the footprints for a while, the footprints disappeared as they should. It seems that we can only rely on flies to search. Orochimaru looked at the sky and said calmly. His position just now was too far away from here. The other party was Uchiha Madara. I'm afraid counter-tracking or something like that was his instinctive reaction, right? Thinking of this, Orochimaru he found a boulder, leaned behind it, and released the other 4 flies. Flies need light energy to charge, and they can be used for up to 2 hours at night. Therefore, the time given to Orochimaru is not it will be more than an hour and a half. Through the hazy night, woods, mountains, and rivers, one after another, appear in Orochimaru's eyes. Well, what is this? Phew! A black shadow flashed past. There are only 5 perspectives left. 1 fly is missing? Sensing this situation, Orochimaru felt weird. It seemed like something had eaten it. Because it was in the evening, he had no physical function. He had forgotten that some species prey on flies. Okay, just 5. The sky is getting darker and darker, the flies have no line function, and the vision is getting darker and darker. But Orochimaru still didn't give up and continued to search every possible corner. Finally, Huang Tian paid off. 10 minutes later, he found the figure carrying a round fan on the side of an unusually remote mountain 3 kilometers away. Uchiha Madara? Yes, the person Orochimaru saw was indeed Madara Uchiha. Uchiha Madara had a shocking battle with the first Hokage, but used Izanagi to escape. Now he is just like Uzumaki Mito. Although he is a little old, he is not unable to walk. At this time, he had just awakened his Samsara Eye. It wasn't long before I learned about the ability of the Samsara Eye. He is invincible now. Originally, in this state, he could do some earth-shattering things, but his life, which was about to come to an end, did not allow him to do so. He had a hunch that if he implemented the plan now, he might die halfway through the implementation of the plan. Therefore, he did not expose his whereabouts and prepared to implement his plan secretly. Find a person who can withstand the power of his own eyes and transplant his eyes to him. When he grows up, the power of his eyes will be almost enough. When the time comes, use the power of these eyes to resurrect yourself. This is a very long-term plan and a very ambitious one. Most people can't think of this plan at all. At this time, he came to the mountainside and raised 2 fingers in front of him. Buzz! The injection of chakra loosened the seal of the mountain belly giant. Boom! The stone door slowly rose, and Uchiha Madara walked in as if there was no one around. When he stepped inside, the stone door slowly fell down to seal the entrance of the cave. The interior of the mountain is very spacious, and there are several fluorite lights, so it doesn't look dim at all. Ah, are you finally here? A soft voice suddenly sounded. As soon as he finished speaking, a white body came out from the stone wall next to it. White Zetsu was created by Uchiha Madara using the chakra of the heretic demon, the cells of Senjo Hashirama, and the yin-yang escape technique. The creature created. In fact, it has nothing to do with it. He is the product of the fall of human beings who were immersed in infinite moon reading in ancient times. He has an ability called the Art of Ephemera, which allows him to freely roam the land or plants. Action. Well, how's the situation over there? Hearing Baizetsu's words, Uchiha Madara took off the fan from his back and put it aside. He sat down on the wooden bed next to him and said calmly. His voice was slightly tired and not as high-spirited as before. Look carefully. In addition to the lavender corrugated eyes that are more conspicuous, some wrinkles on the face are also particularly eye-catching. There is nothing gained. Baiju helplessly spread his hands. Well, forget it, I'm a little tired today, just rest here. With that said, he didn't wait for Baiju's answer, and closed his eyes to himself. Baiju said indifferently, okay, then you have a good rest, and I will look for it again. Baiju got the agreement and was about to sneak into the stone wall. Just when he was about to leave, he suddenly found a small thing falling from the air to the ground. He was a little confused and used his mayfly technique to swim over. What? Is it a fly? Seeing the dropped things, Baiju felt helpless and felt that he was making a fuss, and then he was suddenly startled. Huh? No, how could a fly fall from the sky for no reason? Baiju's curiosity was immediately aroused, and he carefully observed the surrounding situation. Ju, what are you still doing there? Realizing that Baizetsu had not left, Uchiha Madara opened his eyes and asked. No, Madara, what do you think this is? Baiju picked up the fly and brought it to Madara. Fly? No, touch it and see. Hearing Baizetsu's words, Uchiha Madara couldn't help but be curious and subconsciously reached out. This is... Uchiha Madara was surprised. He actually lost contact? Is it a barrier? Orochimaru muttered to himself. It seems that I can't stay here for long, it will be troublesome if I get targeted by Ze. Thinking of this, Orochimaru recorded the surrounding terrain and quickly left in the opposite direction. The fly is mechanical, but it is not a transformer. Although it has a search engine, it has no thinking. Normal detection relies on Orochimaru. It acted according to the instructions given by Maru. Just now, after Orochimaru ordered it to become invisible, he followed Madara Uchiha in, as long as he kept a distance of 2 meters. Unexpectedly, after entering, the contact was lost after a while. It was like the signal suddenly it's like being blocked. You know, he has done experiments before, and his instructions can penetrate through a simple stone door. Unless there is still deep inside the mountain. But the moment he just entered, he saw although it is very spacious inside, it is not very deep. Therefore, except for the barrier, Orochimaru can't think of any other explanation. However, he is not prepared to investigate in depth. Uchiha Madara is so strong now, and his current strength used to be food delivery Scylla. With the human skin mask pulled away, Orochimaru returned to his original appearance and quickly disappeared into the jungle under the moonlight. On the other side, looking at the fly in his hand, Uchiha Madara was surprised. Because he has never seen anything like this. He has the samsara eye, so as long as you look a little closer, you can see that this thing is different. What's this? Ah, how strange it is! I've never seen this. Are you being targeted? Uchiha Madara squinted his eyes. His lavender wavy eyes seemed to see through everything. Although he didn't know what this thing was for, even a fool could tell that it was an artificial machine. Uchiha Madara, you have it all in your hand, can you not see it? It's obviously impossible. After hearing Uchiha Madara's words, Baiziz said quickly, I'll go out and take a look. As he spoke, the whole person slowly sank into the ground. Uchiha Madara did not stop him, because what he was doing now could not be known to anyone, otherwise all his previous efforts would be wasted. After Baiziz left, about half an hour later, he appeared in front of Uchiha Madara again. There seems to be no one there. There is no one within a radius of 2 kilometers. There are quite a few people 2 kilometers away, but they don't seem to be our target. Yet? Uchiha Madara carefully looked at the fly in his hand. Am I too worried? After saying that, he exerted a slight force. The invisible fly was crushed into scrap metal by him. Orochimaru knew that White Zetsu's perception ability was very strong, so before the opponent could react, he moved away from the opponent's perception range as quickly as possible. This has to be said to be a wise choice. You know, Baizetsu's perception ability is one of the best among the entire Hokage. He is able to become one with the earth and thus perceive all living things on it. In other words, as long as you appear on the earth, he can sense your existence. If he sticks to your body and records your chakra, unless your feet are off the ground, he can easily find you even if you run to the end of the world. Orochimaru likes to feel in control of everything, but he doesn't like to be the subject of surveillance by others. So he left without hesitation. The only regret was that he was not sure whether this location was the place where Madara Uchiha died in his memory. But Orochimaru is not in a hurry, since he will be able to obtain cloning technology soon. When the time comes to find Kongwu and develop the curse seal, he will be immortal. Some time and energy are wasted with them. It was already late at night when Orochimaru returned to the hotel in the small town. In order not to disturb others, he chose to climb in through the window. Who? As soon as he entered, he heard a shout. Then, Orochimaru saw a girl in mesh underwear sitting on his bed, looking at him warily. Don't doubt Orochimaru's vision, outside the window the moonlight came in and he could see clearly. Orochimaru? Tsunade? Orochimaru asked strangely, why are you sleeping in my bed? I. Faced with Orochimaru's questioning, Tsunade hesitated and was speechless. Am I waiting for you to come back? It took Tsunade a long time to hold back these words. Her coquettish appearance made her look like a little daughter-in-law. Wait me back? Looking at Tsunade, who was blushing but a little shy, Orochimaru was stunned. At this moment, he suddenly felt that this girl was so cute. What was this feeling? Could it be that he was already attracted? Orochimaru shaking his head, he quickly put this thought aside. You wouldn't have been like this before. I am not, do you want to talk to you? When Tsunade said this, a trace of sadness flashed in her eyes, but it disappeared quickly. Yet? Orochimaru walked over, sat on the other side of the bed and lay down directly. But it's too late today. Let's talk about anything tomorrow. You. Tsunade wanted to say something more, but when she saw Orochimaru's indifferent look, she sighed helplessly. Alas, okay. After saying that, she slowly stood up and prepared to leave. Hey, Tsunade. Suddenly I can't sleep, sit down and let's talk. Well. Orochimaru's incomprehensible words made Tsunade stunned for a moment, and then she reacted. Oh, you guy. Tsunade was speechless, but she still sat next to Orochimaru. She is only 13 years old now, and her parents have died, so she needs spiritual sustenance. After being enlightened by Orochimaru, she focused her attention on the rope tree. However, this seems insufficient. Therefore, she regarded Orochimaru as part of her life. You know, she has always regarded Orochimaru as her boyfriend. Although Orochimaru has never admitted it personally, he has never objected, right? And she could sense that Orochimaru had feelings for her, so she stayed. As for Orochimaru, he hasn't had a girlfriend before, but that doesn't mean he doesn't like women. It's just that the experience in his previous life and the knowledge in this life left him no time to care about the love between his children. This is also the reason why he has always been so cold. However, Tsunade's performance just now made him feel a little relieved. He felt that maybe he and her could have something in common. So, he decided to talk to her. So, that's it. There is bright moonlight in front of the bed, and 2 pairs of shoes under the bed. What will Orochimaru do to Tsunade now? That is obviously unrealistic. Let's not talk about the fact that the 2 of them are only 13 years old. Tsunade, who just lost her parents not long ago, couldn't possibly feel that way. What's more, the relationship between the 2 people now is not good enough, and it is impossible for Tsunade to do anything with Orochimaru. As for Orochimaru, although he doesn't resist women, he still doesn't have any thoughts about an underage flat-chested loli. So, that night, the 2 of them really just sat on the bed and chatted. From life background, to future plans, and finally to the structure of the ninja world. Of course, Tsunade is still in a state of ignorance about the situation in other villages, so Orochimaru just said a few words casually. However, just these casual words made Tsunade fall into admiration. She didn't understand at all why Orochimaru knew the national conditions of other countries. Didn't we only go to those small countries in our previous missions? Moreover, no one told him this. But obviously, she won't care about this anymore. Because Orochimaru is now completely sanctified in her mind. It seems that it is natural for Orochimaru to know this. Sometimes she even has delusions. Could this guy be omnipotent? Early the next morning, a ray of sunlight shines into the house from the window, making people feel refreshed. Jiraiya yawned, grabbed his hair, and got up from the bed. Really, why does Orochimaru have to run out alone every mission? As he said that, he put on his clothes, freshened up, and then opened the door to his room. Let's see if this guy is back. Because their mission time was almost up, he was going to see if Orochimaru was back today. But after he went out, the scene he saw made him petrified. A moment later, Jiraiya's exclamation resounded throughout the entire hotel. Ah! Why? Why is this happening? Tsunade, why did you come out of Orochimaru's room? Why? Why? What did you 2 do behind my back last night? Tell me this isn't true, it can't be true. I must be dreaming, yes, I must be dreaming. Jiraiya yelled, slapping his face as he spoke. It seemed that he just wanted to prove that he was not dreaming. When he went out just now, he happened to see Tsunade coming out of Orochimaru's room. Come out. But that's nothing, because Tsunade was also sleeping in Orochimaru's room. But then, Orochimaru also came out, which was surprising. Aren't these 2 guys only 13 years old? They lived together so quickly. It's over, it's over, my only chance is gone. Jiraiya. Seeing Jiraiya's exclaimed look, Tsunade immediately knew what this guy was thinking, and immediately clenched his fists and shouted loudly. You guy, what are you thinking about all day long? Go to hell! Tai! A heavy punch was thrown, and Jiraiya was knocked out again without reacting. Listening to the screams in the air, Orochimaru said calmly, Tsunade, come out of my room. I'm afraid everyone has random thoughts. Well? Tsunade came back to her senses. It seems like this is really the case. So, I made a typo. Orochimaru once again observed a second of silence for Jiraiya. This mission was still going smoothly. Orochimaru completed his transaction, and the other two people also successfully received the reply from the daimyo. A few people packed up and started heading towards Konoha. Jiraiya had a big bag on his head and looked depressed. But fortunately, he knew that the two of them didn't do anything yesterday, they just chatted for a while, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Although he always knew that he had no chance, this result always gave him something to think about. As for Orochimaru, the only thing he was a little surprised about was that he didn't expect to meet Uchiha Madara at this time and at this place. I wonder if that place is where Madara Uchiha saved Obito. Orochimaru wasn't sure, but he didn't intend to investigate now. Because for him who knows the plot, there are at least 100 ways to destroy Heizetsu's plan. Therefore, he didn't take it to heart at all. A week later, everyone finally returned to Konoha village. After returning to the village, Orochimaru was ready to start busy with his own affairs. Build a laboratory of your own. Current technology, genetic modification. Next technology, cloning technology. Genetic modification, this technology, is a technology between gene fusion and cell transplantation. It is weaker than gene fusion, but more perfect than cell transplantation. It is the ability to fundamentally modify a person's genes so that they have other genes. This is how the original Captain Yamato was created. His genes have been modified since he was a baby, so that his body can adapt to the wood escape cells, and he will be a wood escape owner when he grows up. It is fundamentally different from the cell transplantation technology used by Danzo. Because this technology involves genetic modification, it requires young living creatures as experimental subjects. Of course, that's not the point. If it were just this genetic modification, Orochimaru wouldn't be able to hide his secrets. At the worst possible outcome, just use some white mice to conduct experiments first. What he really wanted to hide was his next technique. Cloning technology. Cloning technology is a bit exaggerated for a teenager. Because cloning requires the use of a lot of scientific research equipment that Konoha cannot use, and when doing experiments, unlike previous technologies, only some ordinary experimental equipment is needed enough. He also needs an experimental cabin, which also needs to contain clones, and various conduits need to be inserted into the clones. For Konoha, if he could only study a little potion or something, they might not have any doubts, and at most they would think that he was gifted. But if he could study clones, it would be a big joke. Have you ever seen a 13-year-old kid who can complete cloning technology on his own? At that time, I will change from a researcher to a person being researched. This is what Orochimaru doesn't want to see. Therefore, he must have his own laboratory. But just when Orochimaru was thinking about where to build this laboratory, something even more unexpected happened to him. Orochimaru. Danzo-sama. How? Do you want to work for me? On this day, Orochimaru was thinking about where it would be more appropriate to build his experimental base. As a result, I unknowingly wandered into the cemetery of Konoha village. Because he was able to learn psychic skills entirely because of his parents in this world, he stopped to worship. Unexpectedly, this time, he was waiting for Danzo. I have to say, this is indeed an accident. However, let yourself work under him directly. Orochimaru glanced at the empty cemetery. Then he looked at Danzo, who had no bandages on his hands and eyes, and he reacted in a timely manner working under Danzo-sama. good. Danzo's expression was unusually calm and his voice was low. You are a talent, no, I should say you are a genius. So I think you shouldn't be buried like this. Danzo is an expert in brainwashing. He is very good at controlling people's hearts, so he doesn't think Orochimaru will be his opponent at all. But, my teacher is the third Hokage. Orochimaru replied calmly. Orochimaru knew that from the time a ninja leaves school and becomes a genin, there will be a leading jounin. Under normal circumstances, this leading jounin will always accompany the growth of the genin. Unless something happens to the leading jounin or he dies, the teacher will not be changed easily midway. Therefore, Orochimaru's heart right now, even if he has 1,000 wishes, he cannot just agree to it. 3 generations? Danzo said solemnly. This doesn't affect you. You just need to come to me to report when you don't have a mission. This. I'm afraid you don't know yet. Danzo suddenly spoke, interrupting Orochimaru's thoughts. The death of your parents is inseparable from the 3rd generation. Varied, what? Hearing this, Orochimaru was stunned. He was surprised. This time he was really surprised. Because this matter was completely absent in his memory. Whether it was the previous life or this life. The cause of death of Orochimaru's parents, related to the 3rd Hokage? How is it possible? Seeing Orochimaru's surprised expression, Danzo was very satisfied and continued to brainwash Orochimaru. The 3rd Hokage is a pacifist. Although your parents were not directly killed by him, it was precisely because of his kindness as a woman that your parents died in the hands of enemy ninjas. How come? We had already won that battle, but Sandai wanted to let the enemy go in order to stop the fighting between the 2 villages. Your parents were attacked and killed by these enemies just after they were released in the 3rd generation. Danzo continued. I have persuaded the 3rd generation many times that we are ninjas and we must kill the enemy when we face it. But the 3rd generation will not listen at all. Therefore, if there is some responsibility for the death of your parents, the 3 generations will definitely be involved. After hearing what Danzo said, Orochimaru gradually calmed down. Is what Danzo said true or false? Orochimaru was not sure. But based on his understanding of the 3rd Hokage, he felt that there was more than 80% chance that this matter was true. Because the 3rd Hokage himself is such a person. And for this kind of thing, he only needs to investigate secretly to know the truth. If Danzo really wants to win over him, there is no need to lie. Although Danzo has some, it means forcefully passing the blame to the 3rd generation, but if this matter is true and if we insist on getting to the bottom of it, it is indeed the 3rd generation of Hokage who killed his parents. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. The original Orochimaru was also because of this. Why did he want to implement the Konoha collapse plan after defecting? In his previous life, he felt that Orochimaru's reason for killing Sarutobi Hiruzen was not sufficient in the Konoha collapse plan for the Chunin examination. Just for the sake of to prove his ninja to Sarutobi? So he has to kill his teacher? What kind of logic is this? You know, Orochimaru was also kind-hearted when he was a child. And he also fought in all directions for Konoha. A kind-hearted person. No matter how ambitious he is, he can't kill his teacher for such a boring reason. He is studying the true meaning of life. What is the use of killing his teacher? What's more, Sarutobi found out that Orochimaru did something inhumane during the in vivo experiment. He was let go. There is no reason for that. In other words, Orochimaru in the original work was also guided by Danzo, so he went into darkness and did a series of things that followed. Sarutobi, when Hiruzen let Orochimaru go, it was not only because Orochimaru was his beloved disciple, but also because he felt guilty. Everything was unreasonable, but because of what Danzo said, everything became reasonable. Orochimaru's thoughts were racing. Maybe what Danzo said is true. Seeing that Orochimaru was deep in thought, Danzo continued to seduce Orochimaru. After saying so much, I just want you not to have any psychological burden when you work under my hands, that's all. Think about it carefully, and if you are willing, come to me at Gen's headquarters. After saying this, Danzo said no more and turned to leave. He believed that his words could definitely impress Orochimaru. He was very confident in his brainwashing skills. In fact, he didn't need him to impress Orochimaru. I've wanted to cooperate with him for a long time. It's just that Orochimaru has never found an opportunity. Now that Danzo has come to the door, of course he won't refuse. But, superficiality still needs to be done. To be honest, what Danzo said today, which really surprised Orochimaru. But in fact, it had no impact on him. After all, the Orochimaru now is no longer the Orochimaru before. No matter how his parents died, it has nothing to do with him. Haha, it's really interesting. It turns out that the political struggle among the top leaders of Konoha has already started. Orochimaru believes that if he goes to find Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen will definitely isolate him when he finds out. But many of his plans must be close to Danzo to complete. Relying on the third Hokage? It is simply unrealistic. With the third generation Hokage's style, the first generation Hokage will definitely not let him touch the cells in the Book of Seals, let alone do any in vivo experiments. You must know that there is a difference between human experiments and in vivo experiments. One is studying corpses, and the other is doing experiments on living subjects. Experimenting on people are completely different concepts. So Orochimaru just hesitated and made his decision. No one can stop his rise unless he is punished for himself. Not even the third Hokage. So, in that night, Orochimaru came to Gen's headquarters alone. Root, in the most remote corner of Konoha. The thick stone door separates this place from Konoha. From the outside, it looks a bit dark. The inside was like a deep well, reaching directly into the underground of Konoha. As Danzo said, this is the root of Konoha, and the root ninjas are a group of ninjas living underground. Danzo, hehe. Looking at the thick stone door in front of him, Orochimaru smiled, and then walked in without hesitation. Shimin is controlled by agencies. After operating the mechanism, the stone door slowly opened, revealing a huge deep well inside. Whoosh whoosh. After entering the door, Orochimaru jumped down several times, and the stone door closed automatically. It was so dark inside the deep well that you could barely see what was going on around you. Stop! Who dares to break into the root without permission? Anyone who breaks into the root without mercy will be killed without mercy. As soon as Orochimaru landed, 4 masked Umbu surrounded him. The colors of their masks were more colorful than those of Hokage's direct Umbu, and they looked darker. The 4 people, holding weapons, had eyes in their eyes. Revealing coldness, he seemed to be about to take action in the next second. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru frowned, and was about to take action to counterattack, but Danzo's voice rang out first. Stop, I called this person. As soon as someone arrived, Danzo walked out of the shadows in the dark corner. You guys stand down. Yes. Yes. Hearing this, the expressions of the 4 root ninjas changed and they stepped aside respectfully. Looking at Orochimaru in front of him, Danzo smiled. Orochimaru, I'm glad you can come. I just want to know what happened specifically, and, why did Danzo-sama choose me? Orochimaru said calmly. His tone was not as respectful as a subordinate would be to a superior, which made several ninjas next to him a little unhappy. But Danzo didn't seem to care. I knew you were going to ask that, if you don't mind, let's talk while we're walking. Good. Orochimaru nodded. Danzo leads the way, Orochimaru follows behind. He said what he said before to Orochimaru again, and the meaning was more or less the same. Anyway, it was the third Hokage who was soft-hearted, which made Orochimaru's parents die a bit aggrieved. Danzo dumped all the blame on the third Hokage. Orochimaru was convinced of this. Because he knew that there was no need for Danzo to use such things too. Orochimaru, didn't you just ask why you should be chosen? Danzo, who was walking in front, suddenly said. Before answering this question, I want to ask you a question first. Danzo-sama, please speak. Danzo said slowly as he walked. You should be familiar with your teammate, the little girl named Tsunade, right? Certainly. Orochimaru answered without hesitation. Not to mention Tsunade, he also knew Danzo extremely well. And he also vaguely guessed what Danzo was going to say. Danzo continued, then you should know too. Who is her grandfather? Heard about it? Danzo nodded slightly. Hashirama-sama, the first Hokage known as the god of the ninja world, the legendary owner of Wood Release, once used Wood Release to subdue the Nine Tails. But after him, no one could inherit the Wood Escape technique. If you want to subdue a tailed beast, you will need a lot of Sharingan or Wood Release. In Konoha, we have also done research on resurrecting the Wood Release technique. However, Hashirama-sama's cells were tested on adults who volunteered to become test subjects. All transplant experiments failed. So, it is a pity that such an attempt was regarded as a forbidden technique and sealed. Originally, I had given up on this experiment, but your appearance gave me hope. Danzo-sama wants me to study this forbidden technique. Orochimaru showed a hint of surprise at the right time. Danzo nodded slightly. Yes, you are very smart. I once told Sarutobi to give it a try, but unfortunately this proposal was rejected by him. What Danzo-sama means is that we have to carry Hokage-sama on his back. Orochimaru, don't you understand? 3 generations killed your parents, there is no need for you to feel guilty for such a thing. Danzo continued to brainwash Orochimaru. The most important thing is, if this technique can be successful, there will be a chance to resurrect your parents. Resurrection, parents? Orochimaru also continued to be surprised. Good. This world is full of wonders, even things like resurrection exist. Danzo said in a deep voice. Orochimaru. I believe that with your talent, you will definitely be able to achieve something. Whether it's for the village or for yourself. After Danzo finished speaking, he stopped and looked at Orochimaru with burning eyes. The weak candlelight around them shone on the two of them, making them look so weird. Thank you Danzo-sama for your trust. So, tell me your answer, Orochimaru. Danzo was a little nervous and impatient. He thought deeply for a long time before deciding to come to Orochimaru. Orochimaru's scientific research talent is really amazing. He believes that if Orochimaru agrees, he will definitely be his comeback key. After hearing Danzo's words, Orochimaru lowered his head and pretended to think for a moment. If Danzo-sama can guarantee that the teacher will not find out. Don't worry about this. Danzo quickly promised. When the time comes, I will take you directly from him, so that you can work for me openly. I have to say that Danzo is really good at deceiving people and taking advantage of the darkness in the ninja's heart. If Orochimaru was not a time traveler, he would probably be guided by him step by step in his thoughts. But now, there is nothing wrong with everyone taking advantage of each other. He got what he wanted, and Danzo also got his own technical support. Mutual benefit for everyone and a win-win situation. Is that so? Orochimaru pretended to be thoughtful, and then said with a slightly respectful tone, since Lord Danzo said this, please give me your advice. Hearing this, Danzo couldn't help but smile. Orochimaru, you are very sensible. Orochimaru didn't reply, but he also laughed in his heart. Using each other, each getting what he needs, this is what Danzo wants, and what Orochimaru wants. As for who has the deeper city? Who benefits more? That's it. The benevolent sees benevolence, and the wise see wisdom. The next morning, before Orochimaru got up, there was a thick stack of materials on the table in his living room. Needless to say, he also knew who sent it. Sent to your living room without your consent. It seems that I will have to find a chance to talk about this in the future, Orochimaru muttered to himself. If you are seen, there is something you shouldn't see. Orochimaru moved his arm, and then flipped through the materials casually. He knew that these were all sent by Tuanzang. The contents of it are the data from the previous intercolumnar cell transplantation test at the top layer of Konoha in the past. The experimental materials contained in it are actually of little use to him, but after all, they record a lot of things that he doesn't know, so he can be regarded as reading them very seriously. After watching it for half an hour, there are a lot of them. Orochimaru knew that he would definitely not be able to finish reading it in a short time, so he threw it aside, washed up casually, and went to the Hokage's office alone. After all, he is still a student of Ape Fari/, so he still has to report every day. Ape Fari/ is not a god, so naturally he would not know that Orochimaru had seen Tuanzang so early. Well, there is no task I want today, and Orochimaru is leisurely and wanders around the street alone. Tsunade, because of the spiritual sustenance of her younger brother, her emotions have recovered a lot now, and she plays with her brother without a mission. And Jiraiya, knowing that the pursuit of Tsunade is hopeless, is now practicing more diligently. As long as he knows that there is no task today, he will use reverse spiritism to go to Mayama Mountain. It seems to be an attempt to numb himself with cultivation. This state has lasted for half a month. Half a month later, on the night of the night, Orochimaru came to the headquarters of the route. When Orochimaru appeared at Gen's headquarters again, Danzu nodded with satisfaction. Orochimaru, you have finished reading the information given to you. I've finished reading it. Tell me what you think. Why did you think this experiment failed? Why did the first Hokage cell transplant trial fail? I'm afraid that Tuanzang would never have thought in his life that he would ask such a profound question to a 13-year-old ghost. You must know that no matter how talented Orochimaru is, he has never done experiments in this area before. So he didn't expect Orochimaru to answer at all. His original intention of asking this question was just to simply see how high Orochimaru's talent was. However, Orochimaru was unimpressed. According to the information, it's because the cell power of the original Hokage-sama is too strong, and the body of ordinary people can't withstand this power at all. Orochimaru talked eloquently, listing the possible and possible rejection reactions between cells. Suddenly, Tuanzang was surprised to close. If you haven't been exposed to the first generation of cells, you can see the key to the problem in just half a month? At this moment, Danzo looked at Orochimaru's eyes as if he was looking at a monster. This guy's talent is amazing. It's only been half a month, and I can fully understand the whole process of the test, and what the problem is. It's simply incredible. But fortunately, as the root leader of Konoha, many things in Konoha can't escape the control of Danzang. So he knew that although Orochimaru was only 13 years old now, this guy had been teaching himself this since he was 6 years old, and now he had been 6 or 7 years old. 6 or 7 years, coupled with super talent, is enough to make Orochimaru the top scientific researcher. Thinking of this, Tuanzang accepted his surprise, calmed down a bit, and once again made himself unfathomable. The adults have won the prize, it's nothing. Orochimaru said quietly. Because of these, for him now, it's really just scratching the surface. Well, Orochimaru, your talent is indeed amazing, but since you can see the problem, have you thought of any solution? Although he felt that the question he had asked was more excessive than the one just now, he couldn't help but ask. Because his subconscious thought that Orochimaru might have a way to. According to the data, there are currently 3 ways to solve it. It's really. Orochimaru's words were amazing, making Tuanzang's whole person stunned. With such a profound scientific research project, this guy just glanced at the test data, and not only could he see the problem, but also think of a way. There are 3 more ways to do this? Right? This guy has only been reading the information for half a month? Tell me about it. Tuanzang held back the surprise in his heart and said again. Orochimaru surprised him too much, and he was now starting to get a little numb. The first method is to dilute the power of the original Hokage cells, so as to achieve the effect of weakening the power. As long as this power is weakened enough to withstand the physique of an ordinary ninja, it can be transplanted, but this method may not even bring out 1% of the power of the original Hokage, so it will not be considered for the time being. Tuanzang nodded thoughtfully. What about the second? The second way is to strengthen the ninja's own physique until the ninja's physique is enhanced to the point where it can resist the cellular power of the original Hokage. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Tuanzang nodded again. We have also thought about this method you said, but if you want to achieve this level, it is simply impossible. Even if it's the strengthening potion you developed before, you will definitely not be able to do it. Really? Orochimaru smiled quietly. Then you can only use the third method. What way? Said Tuanzang curiously. At this time, he felt like a schoolboy in front of Orochimaru. No, not even elementary school students. Orochimaru stretched out a finger. Use another kind of energy to balance each other. As we all know, chakra is a combination of physical and mental energy. And the cells of the original Hokage, because they contain an extremely large amount of life energy, are impossible for ordinary ninjas to control at all. Why can't you control it? My guess is that the strength of the mental power is not enough. If we implant the same spiritual power as the original Hokage cells into the same object, and the two forces grow and overcome each other to reach a peculiar equilibrium. It's just that this method is too risky, and this balance is not easy to grasp, so. Orochimaru, you're just a genius. Danzo's surprised voice interrupted Orochimaru's talk. At this moment, he really felt that he had found a treasure. Konoha's researchers are not fools. They have also thought about the first two methods Orochimaru mentioned. The first method of diluting power is useless even if it is transplanted. The second method of enhancing physical fitness is really too difficult. After all, the ninja blood is there. Without good bloodline, no matter how hard you practice, your ability will be limited. Moreover, there will still be a rejection reaction between the cultivated physique and the cells of the first Hokage. Therefore, they were forced to stop this experiment. But now, the third type Orochimaru mentioned was something they had never even thought about. At this moment, Danzo not only felt that Orochimaru was a genius, but also felt that this guy was a madman. Because only a madman would dare to think of this third method of balancing power. You know, whether it is spiritual power or life energy, as long as it is strong enough to a certain extent, the human body will impossible to bear. Too much life energy will cause your body cells to grow rapidly, thereby depriving you of life. If your mental energy is too strong, it will cause you to lose your mind and lose yourself. One kind is like this, let alone two kinds. Therefore, it's not that they couldn't think of this method, it's that they simply didn't dare to think of it. At this time, when Orochimaru said it through his mouth, Danzo was immediately enlightened. Two forces are transplanted at the same time, restricting and balancing each other? Maybe this method is really feasible? Seeing Danzo's reaction, Orochimaru lowered his head, and at the same time the corners of his mouth unconsciously raised a bit. In this way, you should be considered to have gained Danzo's trust, right? To be honest, Orochimaru doesn't know how the Orochimaru in the original work came into contact with Danzo, nor does he know the specific time when he came into contact with Danzo. But what he is certain of is that the contact between Orochimaru and Danzo in the original work should have been after World War II. Orochimaru began to study forbidden arts, it should be after World War II. But now, these have become unimportant. There is nothing wrong with him showing his scientific research talents in advance and being noticed by Danzo in advance. In fact, the third method Orochimaru mentioned just now is the transplantation method used by Danzo in the original work. It's just that Danzo doesn't have anything yet, so Orochimaru's words really surprised him. Of course, for Orochimaru himself, there are more than these three ways to obtain the abilities of the first Hokage. Gene fusion fluid or genetic modification, which one cannot obtain the abilities of the first generation Hokage. Even the genetic enhancement fluid, after being used to an advanced level, can withstand the power of the first generation Hokage cells. However, genetic enhancement fluid and genetic modification are both forced fusions and are not as perfect as the genetic fusion fluid, so Orochimaru himself will not consider it. Of course, it was impossible for him to tell Danzo these things. Because he knows that the more cards he has, the more initiative he can have. Orochimaru believes this. There is no doubt about the outcome of this meeting. Danzo believed Orochimaru. One is because of Orochimaru's talent, and the other is because he believes in his brainwashing skills. Of course, Orochimaru's current age is also a very important reason. After all, who would have thought that a 13-year-old kid could not only be a time traveler who knew everything, but also have a city deeper than Danzo himself? Danzo trusted Orochimaru, took him to visit his headquarters, and introduced Orochimaru to his subordinates. The layout inside the route is not as monotonous as it seems on the surface. There are training rooms, lounges, workrooms, everything you need. At this time, the two of them happened to arrive at the training room. Although there was insufficient light inside, they could vaguely see 30 or 40 masked Gen 1 ninjas training inside. Let me introduce you to someone. Duanzo stopped and spoke suddenly. His voice was not loud, but it seemed to have some kind of magic power that allowed everyone to hear it. Whoa! Everyone immediately stopped training and knelt down on one knee towards Danzo. Their movements were uniform and neat, which made Orochimaru envious. No wonder Danzo is so obsessed with power. Why does it feel so good to have power? Seeing the reactions of these people, Danzo nodded with satisfaction. He opened his mouth and said his name is Orochimaru. From now on, he has the right to enter and exit the route freely. Please be careful and don't hurt your own people. Yes. All the members of the Gen spoke at the same time. Although their eyes revealed surprise and confusion, no one raised a voice of doubt. This is the discipline of the Gen. After Danzo finished pretending, he turned around and looked at Orochi. Pill. Orochimaru, this will be your home from now on. I hope you can get along well with them in the future. I see. Orochimaru nodded lightly. He knew that from today on, he would be involved in the political struggle at the top of Konoha. No matter who wins or loses, his ending will probably not be too happy. But it doesn't matter, strength is stronger than anything else. Well, I'll let Gui take you around first. You should familiarize yourself with the environment here. If you don't have a mission tomorrow, I'll take you to another place. Good. Orochimaru nodded. He didn't ask where the other place was, because such words are a bit redundant for ninjas. Seeing Orochimaru's performance, Danzo nodded with satisfaction, and then turned towards a subordinate waved. The subordinate received the order and walked quickly to Danzo. Lord Danzo. Orochimaru, I leave it to you. Yes. Gui is a relatively short ninja. By visual inspection, I am only about 165. I am not only short, but also thin. He looks even thinner than Orochimaru. He inherited the characteristics of the root ninja, which is taciturn. Orochimaru walked in front, and he followed behind without saying a word. Because Orochimaru is Konoha's secret, these root ninjas don't know that Konoha's powerful recovery potion was developed by Orochimaru. Therefore, he looked at Orochimaru with doubts and confusion in his eyes. He didn't understand why this kid who looked younger than himself received such care from Danzo-sama. All he knew was that this boy looked a little unusual. Well, what's wrong? Orochimaru, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped, which made Gui a little puzzled. Orochimaru looked at him. Your name is Gui? No, this is just my code name. What's your name? No name. Kui replied lightly. After hearing this, Orochimaru smiled as expected. Can you stick out your tongue and show it to me? Orochimaru's sudden and strange request caused Gui's brain to shut down for a moment. Obviously he didn't understand Orochimaru's thinking logic. Why do you suddenly ask yourself to stick out your tongue while walking? Does this kid have any special hobbies? But seeing how much Danzo takes care of Orochimaru, he obviously doesn't dare to offend Orochimaru. Can I ask the reason? Kai still asked. Although the ninjas of Gen and the Umbu of Hokage are both called Umbu, they are actually different. Everyone knows that the work done by Umbu is relatively shady, so they need to use masks to protect themselves. Cover his face. The purpose of covering his face, in addition to hiding his identity, is to prevent someone from recognizing him during the execution of the mission and thus taking revenge on his family in private. Although Naruto's Umbu usually wears a mask, but when they don't have a mission, they will take off their masks and appear on the street. Because the work they do is usually aimed at outsiders, they are not afraid of revenge. But Gen's ninjas are different. Most of them have no names and no family members. They have no feelings, and what they do is even more shady than the Umbu of Hokage. Sometimes, they even attack people in their own village. Therefore, their appearance needs to be more secretive than the Umbu of Hokage. Several people have been working together for several years. There are many situations where you have seen each other. Orochimaru seemed to have noticed Gui's concerns. There is no special reason, I just suddenly wanted to take a look, just take off half of the mask. This. Don't worry, if something goes wrong, just pass the responsibility on to me. I hope Danzo-sama won't embarrass you. Orochimaru's tone was calm, but it surprised everyone. If you put the responsibility on him, wouldn't Danzo-sama make things difficult for him? Is this guy so confident? Is he a relative of Danzo? No, Danzo Zhang has no relatives. His thoughts lasted only a moment, and he obviously didn't have time to think too much. Because Orochimaru's request was not too much. This, all right. Quay hesitated for a moment, but still took off the mask. Stick out your tongue? This request is a bit weird. Even if their ninjas have no emotions, at this time he is still afraid that Orochimaru will do something to him. But fortunately, Orochimaru just glanced at it and turned around. All right. That's it. Quay looked confused, but Orochimaru smiled. Sure enough, no? He suddenly stopped just now because he suddenly thought that there is a curse mark at the base of the ninja's tongue. This curse mark is to prevent these roots exist as the secret of ninjas. But now, seeing that the man named Gui has no curse seal on the root of his tongue, he immediately confirmed his judgment. This curse seal has not appeared yet, which can only prove that the curse seal of the roots, he also developed it for Danzo. I have to say that Orochimaru is really early the next morning. Well, it's a sunny day. Konoha village is full of laughter and excitement. After Orochimaru got up and washed up, he came to the Hokage's office as usual. To be honest, he didn't feel sorry for Sarutobi Hiruzen for working with Danzo. Because firstly, he never thought about killing Sarutobi, and secondly, he never stopped contributing to the village. He just wants to get what he wants. He sees nothing wrong with this. Therefore, even without Danzo's rhetoric, Orochimaru still would not feel any guilt. Today I still don't have the task I want. Orochimaru also has pharmaceutical business contacts in other small countries, so he needs the kind of mission that allows him to go abroad. Although money is temporarily unnecessary for him who has just cooperated with Danzo, who can have too much money. Orochimaru, your previous potion seemed to have no side effects. After talking about the mission, the third Hokage brought the topic to the genetic enhancement potion. Now, it has been almost a month since the fox tested the medicine. Logically speaking, if such drugs that enhance combat effectiveness have any side effects, they will appear within a few hours at most. The reason why they observed for so long was just because they wanted to be cautious. Hearing the words of the third Hokage, Orochimaru nodded. Teacher, I have tested it many times, and it is normal to have no side effects. Well, after our observation, the effect of the medicine is also very good. Can this medicine be manufactured in batches? The third Hokage made it clear. Anyway, the two have been master and apprentice for a long time, so there is nothing to be embarrassed about. This, Orochimaru hesitated for a moment. It's difficult. It's harder than the previous potion. There are two medicinal materials in the primary gene enhancement liquid that cannot be replaced. This is the most troublesome. However, Orochimaru had already found an excuse. Oh? Tell me. Sarutobi Hiruzen has no doubt that he is there. The first is the complexity of the production process, which is more troublesome than the previous recovery potions. Secondly, the medicinal materials are even rarer. Except for a small amount accidentally found during that mission, no such medicinal materials have been found anywhere else. Oh? Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded thoughtfully. Why are the medicinal materials so rare? Orochimaru didn't hide his secrets and took out the 2 medicinal materials that he had already prepared. Those are the 2. One is a plant and the other is a dead animal carcass. Of course, both are very dry. The third Hokage looked at it and said, "This is not a problem, tell me where this thing was found, and I can send someone to look for it." Hongzhou Island in the south. Orochimaru has been prepared for a long time. The southern Hongzhou Island, south of the Land of Fire, is a place that specializes in rare medicinal materials. The ninjas there call themselves merchant ninjas and specialize in collecting rare medicinal materials to make money. After Sarutobi Hiruzen became the Hokage, before the Chunin examination, Orochimaru and the others had been there once during their mission. So when he said this, Sarutobi Hiruzen would not be suspicious. The third Hokage nodded. "Well, then the medicinal materials you have now are still good. How many are made?" "Probably 50. "Well, 5, what? 50? Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned. He thought that for such a useful potion and the medicinal materials being so rare, 5 pills would be a good quantity, but he didn't expect there to be 50 pills. Oh my god! Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little excited. It took him a long time to recover. Looking at his proud disciple in front of him, Sarutobi Hiruzen cleared his throat and said solemnly, "Orochimaru, your contribution to the village is huge. Well, you deserve these 10 million taels." As he said that, he took out a money box from under the desk and pushed it in front of Orochimaru. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked prepared and put the money box under his desk. Orochimaru didn't mind and took the money. "You know, the black market price of 50 weakened versions of genetic enhancement fluid is 75 million taels. This is much more than 10 million taels." Therefore, Orochimaru felt at ease. After taking out the 2 potions that had been prepared before and handed them to Sarutobi Hiruzen from the scroll, Orochimaru left the Hokage's office. He gave Sarutobi the remaining potion within a month. "Anyway, I am responsible for this research project alone, and I have the final say on when to deliver it." Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally had no doubts about this. And he also knows the value of these potions. 10 million taels? It is indeed too little. But Orochimaru is his disciple. Orochimaru didn't ask for funds, so he could only give it to him. On the other side, Orochimaru had 60 million taels in his pocket, and while walking on the street, he once again lamented how easy it was for him to make money. "Other ninjas only work for tens to millions of taels, but I can easily earn tens of millions? If this were in a modern city, it would be a complete Diozi counterattack." Orochimaru smiled lightly. Weakened versions of genetic enhancement fluids and repair fluids are so popular. Then if he took out the gene fusion fluid, wouldn't it cause turmoil in the entire ninja world? After all, this thing can create a strong man of the level of the first Hokage. Of course, Orochimaru was just thinking about it, and he had not yet thought about using it for others. Because he knows that the human heart is unpredictable. After people gain strength, they easily swell. Just like Kagaya's 2 sons. Their power was originally given by Kagaya, but they actually used the power given by their mother to jointly seal their mother. They are definitely 2 unfilial sons. Although Senjutsu played a vital role in their subsequent victory over Kagaya, Orochimaru believed that if they had no chakra, they would still only be tortured by Kagaya. Therefore, let's talk about the god-making plan later. With my current strength, I simply cannot control such a strong man. "Hi Orochimaru!" A clear voice rang. "Oh, it's the money box again? Did your research succeed?" On the street, looking at the money box in Orochimaru's hand, Tsunade looked surprised. This time the box was obviously a few sizes larger than the last one. Doesn't this mean that this guy's research was successful again? As the princess of the Hand clan, she knew that the village would not give Orochimaru so much money for no reason. Orochimaru nodded slightly, and looked at the little boy held by Tsunade. Haha, rope tree, it's been a long time since we last seen each other. How big has he grown? Hee, isn't it? You haven't been to my house for a long time. Tsunade seemed to have recovered a lot of her mood. Naoki, why are you standing there in a daze? Please call me brother. Hearing his sister calling him, Naoki glanced at Orochimaru. Those golden vertical pupils made him inexplicably scared, and he subconsciously hid behind Tsunade. Sensing this scene, Tsunade squatted down. Rope tree, what are you afraid of? This is Orochimaru and he hugged you when you were a kid. Naoki seemed a little unfamiliar with Orochimaru and was not very willing to deal with Orochimaru. Really, you're not usually like that. Tsunade was speechless and was about to say something more. Orochimaru spoke calmly. Don't push him, it's normal for children to be afraid of birth. Orochimaru did hug Nasha once, but that was before Tsunade's parents died. I remember that time, Tsunade forcibly took Nasha to her house, and at that time, Nasha was less than 2 years old. Who says I'm afraid of life? I'm just curious. The rope tree yelled a little stubbornly, as if he wanted to use his voice to prove that he was not afraid of strangers. Curious? What are you curious about? Tsunade was stunned. I'm curious, why are my brother's eyes like this? Good, very scary. The rope tree has no restraints, and Tsunade's head is full of black lines. This kid really dares to say anything? Although Orochimaru's golden vertical pupils look like snake pupils. In fact, it's not just snakes, many wild beasts also have this kind of pupils. It is normal for children to be scared after seeing it. However, saying it directly made her a little embarrassed. Sorry, Orochimaru, this kid doesn't understand anything. It's okay, kid, just give me something to eat and you won't be afraid. Orochimaru said casually. He didn't care about this. Even at his current level, he could easily modify the color and shape of his pupils. He didn't do so. Because for him, there was no need at all. Well? Do you want to buy me something to eat? I want to eat meatballs, if my brother really invites me to eat, I will. When he heard that Orochimaru was about to give him food, Naoki no longer cared about whether he was afraid or not, but before he could finish his words, Tsunade put her hand on his head. Brother, didn't I teach you to be polite? You can't ask others for food like this. What, sister, isn't Orochimaru-chan your boyfriend? We are a family, how can a family be someone else? Right, brother. As he said that, Naoki looked at Orochimaru with an arrogant look. Not to mention Tsunade, even Orochimaru was stunned. Does this kid know too much? Tsunade wants to follow everything. Did he tell it? Haha, you kid, you know a lot, come on, I'll treat you to meatballs. Real? Naoki's eyes lit up. Orochimaru turned around directly. If you want to eat, come with me. Oh yeah, long live my brother. For the sake of Mariko-chan, Naoki decisively abandoned Tsunade and followed Orochimaru happily. Seeing the two people leaving, Tsunade was stunned at first, and then she smiled happily. Konoha village, meatball shop. The meatballs are both cold and sweet. Tsunade doesn't like eating meatballs, but Naoki likes them very much. Looking at the wolfing rope tree, Orochimaru took out 2 prepared genetic enhancement fluids from his ninja bag. This is the result of my research this time, you and Jiraiya can take 1 each. Well? To us. Is this the one you have that can increase the amount of chakra? Yes. How awesome! Looking at the light green liquid in her hand, Tsunade exclaimed, but how do you use this? Just drink it directly. That's it. Tsunade was not polite. Hey, thank you, Orochimaru. You are welcome. You are so awesome, said Tsunade took one of them and was about to open it. "Tsunade, don't use it here." Seeing Tsunade's actions, Orochimaru quickly stopped him. "Why? You'll know when you get back." Orochimaru didn't bother to explain. So, after the two separated, Tsunade returned to the Senju clan's clan with doubts. After 10 minutes, she finally understood why Orochimaru didn't let her try at the meatball shop. This smell is simply too unpleasant, isn't it? If she did this in a meatball shop, would the shop owner beat her to death? After the drug took effect, Tsunade did not check her chakra immediately, but rushed directly entering the bathroom. As a girl, she naturally does not allow herself to be so smelly. She threw her clothes out of the bathroom one by one. After a burst of hot water washed them away, Tsunade was surprised to find out. "Well, this seems to be getting bigger." Gene enhancement. Although it only enhances the genes, but before the enhancement, the body will first undergo a large-scale detoxification. This kind of detoxification is similar to the cleaning of essence and marrow in novels about cultivating immortals. Remove body impurities from human sweat glands. The smell of discharged impurities is really not an ordinary smell. Of course, while strengthening, it also promotes growth and development, which is also a matter of course. After all, it is genes that are strengthened. It's just that this function is not important to Orochimaru, so he doesn't care. But for the current Tsunade, it is an unexpected surprise. "Have you really grown up?" "What? Success." At the door of a certain house, a white-haired boy looked surprised when he saw the light green potion in the girl's hand. "So awesome, that guy Orochimaru." "Of course, don't you see whose boyfriend Orochimaru is?" Tsunade looked arrogant, as if she had developed this potion. Jiraiya immediately rolled his eyes. "Hey, it's like Orochimaru developed something that has something to do with you, you ordinary person." "Well? You, how are you?" "Jiraiya." Seeing Jiraiya staring at her, Tsunade's face turned cold. "Where are you looking?" "Without, no." Jiraiya sweated on his forehead and quickly waved his hands. "I was just careless." "Yes, hehe, careless." Although Tsunade is still dressed very conservatively now, Jiraiya can't see anything at all, but Tsunade was angry and blood spattered 5 steps. He didn't dare to continue in front of Tsunade, who was on the verge of anger without Orochimaru's absence. "Seek death. Forget it, I'll spare you this time. Here, this is for you." Tsunade was in a good mood today and didn't bother to argue with Jiraiya, so she handed him the potion in her hand. Jiraiya didn't want to continue being poor, so he took the potion and looked at it carefully in his hand. "Can you increase chakra by eating this?" Jiraiya looked suspicious. "This thing won't eat dead people, right?" "What? Eat dead people?" Tsunade was immediately dissatisfied. "Damn it, Orochimaru gave it to you with good intentions, but you still dare to doubt it. If you are afraid of eating dead people, just give them back to me." No, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid." "Hehe, thank you for coming to deliver me the medicine, Tsunade, see you tomorrow. Goodbye." After saying that, Jiraiya quickly closed the door of his courtyard, fearing that Tsunade would not give him a chance if he was angry. Although he was dumbfounded, he was not stupid. Since Orochimaru can announce this thing, naturally he will approved by the village. No, that's a fool. If this can really increase the amount of chakra, wouldn't he be able to practice immortality faster? Thinking about it, I'm a little excited. Jiraiya closed the door. Tsunade outside suddenly had a trace of doubt on her face. This potion can promote growth and development. Does Orochimaru think I am too young? So, who just made this potion? No way. Time passes slowly. As night falls, the bright moon hangs slantingly on the treetops. The bright moon emits cold light and spreads to the earth. On the outskirts of Konoha village, in a remote place, there is a small stone gate. There were several masked ninjas standing next to the stone gate. At this time, inside the stone gate, 2 figures were talking. Orochimaru didn't know that Tsunade would think so much because now he was attracted by the huge laboratory in front of him. This is the laboratory where this experiment was done before. I have sent people to clean it up. Take a look at what else is needed and I will ask them to prepare it for you. Danzo said calmly. Orochimaru was willing to help him, so he had to show his sincerity. At the very least, he should receive the treatment he deserves. Looking at the huge laboratory in front of him, Orochimaru glanced around. There are all kinds of experimental cabins and experimental equipment. I originally wanted to build one myself, but judging from the current situation, I can definitely build 2 secret rooms in it. Danzo doesn't come here often anyway. The things are quite complete, but there are still some shortcomings. After Orochimaru finished speaking, he walked to the workbench next to him and picked up the pen and paper on it. Swish, swish. He wrote what he needed in a few strokes and handed it to Danzo. Just let them buy these things and move them here. Can. Danzo said nothing nonsense. However, I still want to ask, when can your experiments start? Danzo-sama, don't be anxious. Scientific research takes time. The more anxious you are, the more likely it is that problems will arise. Orochimaru finished speaking calmly, and then changed the subject. However, if there are enough materials, I can give it a try now. Hearing this, Danzo nodded in agreement, and after discussing the direction of research with Orochimaru again, he took out a scroll from his arms. No matter what method you use, as long as you can make Mudun reappear in the world. Good. Take this, save it, I'll leave first. Good. Orochimaru nodded and reached out to take the scroll. The scroll is a space scroll for storing things. Orochimaru had already vaguely guessed what was inside. Danzo left quickly, and Orochimaru couldn't wait to open the scroll. Bang! A puff of white smoke flashed, and a transparent glass bottle as thick as an adult's arm appeared in front of him. The bottle was filled with antiseptic potion, and there was a piece of meat soaked in the antiseptic potion. No, this was not a simple piece of meat, but a bunch of cells containing huge life energy. Haha, it really is so. Tuk tuk tuk. Orochimaru. Early the next morning, Tsunade came to Orochimaru's house and knocked on his door. Tsunade is now a Choyunin and needs to do missions. So when she usually does missions, her younger brother Naoki is found by the 3rd Hokage. The nanny took care of it. Seeing that there was no response from the house, Tsunade knocked 3 times again. Tuk tuk tuk. No response? What is this guy doing? Tsunade frowned, and then looked at the surrounding situation. Whoosh! With a slight jump, she jumped into the wall of Orochimaru's house. Tsunade walked cautiously towards the inside, crossed the yard, the living room, and finally found the bedroom. Still sleeping. Looking at the figure lying on the bed, Tsunade was a little confused. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning, and Orochimaru is still sleeping? This is obviously not in line with common sense. And this guy, even if he is asleep, his vigilance should not be so low. Huh? Thinking of this, Tsunade wanted to wake Orochimaru up, but as soon as she reached her hand out in the air, she suddenly realized that Orochimaru, who was sleeping quietly, looked very good. Haha, of course my boyfriend is very good looking. Hey, Orochimaru, wake up. I've been a little bored lately. Let's go pick him up together, boom. The moment Tsunade's white hand touched Orochimaru on the bed, Orochimaru turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared. Well? Shadow clone. Tsunade was a little confused. Orochimaru, why are you sleeping here with a shadow clone? Before he could figure out the situation, Orochimaru's voice suddenly appeared. Tsunade? Why are you in my room? Big, Orochimaru. Tsunade was startled and looked at Orochimaru, who suddenly appeared behind her with a guilty conscience. How did you come in from outside? I went out for something. Then you don't need a shadow clone. It's just a habit. You'd better tell me directly. What do you want from me? Orochimaru decisively changed the topic. I have to say that sometimes it's not a good thing to have a too good relationship. He just didn't come back for one night, and he was almost discovered by Tsunade. If he had been a little later, he might have happened. Of course, yesterday night was a special case for Orochimaru, and the harvest was huge. You know, those were the cells of the first Hokage. Things that others couldn't even see, could be played with at will. Although there is still a technology that needs to be overcome, but at least it has been successfully decomposed, purified, and fused by the way. Tsunade was a little confused, but Orochimaru successfully changed the subject. I just feel a little bored recently, so I asked you to come with me. The next task. I don't want to do it today, I have to take a rest, I have to make the remaining potion tonight. That's it. Tsunade nodded thoughtfully. She knew that the mission time of the three of them needed to be based on Orochimaru's scientific research time. Okay. Oh, Orochimaru, did you notice anything different about me today? After Tsunade finished speaking, she turned around in a normal circle. No, the same. Orochimaru was stunned and looked Tsunade up and down. Green top, blue belt, mesh-edged shorts. Got new clothes? No. Changed your hairstyle? No. Oh, it's so obvious, can't you see it? As she said this, Tsunade deliberately puffed out her chest and looked arrogant. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru didn't understand what was going on. Haha, that's it. Has it gotten a little bigger? It's indeed a bit bigger. It has something to do with your strengthening potion. Tsunade was a little depressed. Orochimaru, do you still dislike me for being young, so you developed this potion? How can it be? You think too much. Really not. You've asked me 800 times, aren't you tired? Hehe, I just know that I guessed wrong, so, as my boyfriend, do you want to feel it first? Feel it? Tsunade couldn't wait to prove herself. This move made Orochimaru not know what to say. According to psychology, the more a person shows off, the less he lacks. Tsunade's chest was flat and she suddenly grew faster. So he couldn't wait to prove his potential in front of Orochimaru. This phenomenon shows that Tsunade has always disliked herself for being young. But obviously, Orochimaru knew that Tsunade was trying it out as a joke. So he didn't pay attention. She fell directly on the bed and went to sleep. Tsunade was speechless when she saw this. She really just wanted to tease her boyfriend, but Orochimaru didn't fall for it. In desperation, she had no choice but to stop disturbing him and turned around and left Orochimaru's room. In this way, Orochimaru slept until the afternoon. After getting up, he went directly to Konoha's test base. He started making the genetic enhancement liquid promised to Sarutobi. 50 bottles in 5 days. After the production was completed, Orochimaru started the infinite cycle mode. During the day, he practiced genetic modification at Konoha's experimental base, and made some potions by the way, preparing to sell them during the next mission. After finishing work in the afternoon, he went to the laboratory arranged by Danzo and was busy until 11 o'clock. What experiments did he do? Others couldn't understand it, so he didn't need to explain to anyone. A month later, Sarutobi Hiruzen got the remaining 48 strengthening fluids. Looking at the 3 high-end boxes filled with potions on the desk, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded with satisfaction. As a disciple, he is really awesome. 50 potions can improve the combat effectiveness of 50 people, and it is a permanent improvement. What is this concept? This kind of potion, it may not be very useful for ordinary ninjas, but for jounin? It is simply a big killer. You know, not every jounin is of the type with very good physique. Some jounin have not special physiques. Well, the amount of chakra is not much, but the learning talent is very good. In every battle, the amount of chakra must be calculated to the millimeter. The most typical representatives of this kind of jounin are Hinata and Uchiha. These two families, big some ninjas do not have a lot of chakra, but jounin have a lot. If this potion is given to the jounins of these two families, it will greatly increase their combat effectiveness. Secondly, Abarame, Inyazuka, big families such as Inakacho and Inagasho. They all belong to the type where the amount of chakra is not particularly large, but there are family jonins. Of course, Sarutobi Hiruzen first gave these potions to 4 senior Konoha officials, including himself. After all, they are the real core of Konoha, and other families should be ranked behind them. Then there are those families. If Danzo is there, the Uchiha family will definitely not want to give it. But the current Uchiha is still considered a wood after all. A member of yet, so Sarutobi Hiruzen called them together. Can it increase the amount of chakra? Simply incredible. Are you kidding me? Don't talk nonsense, why would Hokage-sama be joking with us? Ha ha ha, never mind, when I first heard about it, I thought it was a joke. Konoha Village, Hokage Conference Room. Looking at the clan leaders below, the third Hokage smiled heartily and said, however, the function of the potion has been tested repeatedly. It is absolutely true, and it is more precious than the previous recovery potion. For now, the quantity is very limited. So amazing! If Hokage-sama is sure, then there will be no problem. Yes, but it still sounds a bit incredible. Ha ha ha, isn't it? Hey, by the way, what Hokage-sama means by summoning us today is... Sarutobi Hiruzen said calmly, because the quantity of the potion is limited, this potion will not be sold to outsiders. I have called you here, of course, hoping to put this precious potion into your hands. Not for sale. It seems really limited. This is natural. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued, after our discussion, we decided that one family will receive one first, and the others will be reserved for future rewards to those ninjas who have made special contributions to the village. What do you think? Just following Hokage-sama's orders. Follow the instructions of Lord Hokage. Well, let's start with the Hyuga clan leader. Hiruzen Sarutobi held a meeting for everyone and distributed the weakened genetic enhancement fluid. It feels like a company boss is giving benefits to employees. But it is indeed the case. The ninja village was originally formed by Senju and Uchiha, and other families and civilian ninjas just came here to seek refuge. This model is not much different from the early company formation. Sarutobi is the third chairman and CEO, Danzo, and the other 3 are on the board of directors, and the other clan heads are all shareholders and general managers. Orochimaru, you shouldn't have given Sarutobi so many gene-enhancing potions. Night. Board of Directors, this is what Danzo said directly after the Konoha high-level meeting ended and he found Orochimaru in the laboratory outside Konoha village. Looks like he's complaining about Orochimaru. How do you say this? Orochimaru took the test tube in his hand and shook it gently, and said nonchalantly. He used these potions to win over those families, and now, his position is becoming more and more stable. Hearing this, Orochimaru stopped what he was doing and glanced at Danzo without any trace. This guy, too stingy, right? Do you even have to argue with Sarutobi about such a small thing? No wonder you can't beat Sarutobi. This vision is not long-term at all. Well, during this time, Danzo felt that he had successfully brainwashed Orochimaru, so he didn't care at all about revealing his ambitions in front of Orochimaru. And Orochimaru's performance also reassured him. That's why we had the conversation just now. You can't blame me. Orochimaru pretended to be innocent and said, I believe that even without these potions of mine, the teacher's status will become more and more stable. That being said, you gave him too much. Danzo continued to complain. 50 branches, that's a whole 50. You are so generous, do your dead parents know? After hearing Danzo's words, Orochimaru quickly understood, so that's it. I see. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out an iron box from under the workbench and placed it in front of Danzo. Seeing this, Danzo's eyes lit up, but as an old yinbai, he naturally would not show any emotions. Orochimaru, do you have more of this? Of course it's impossible. This is specially reserved for you, sir. If it weren't for you, Danzo-sama, I wouldn't have lied to my teacher. Orochimaru said casually. In fact, Orochimaru knew exactly what Danzo meant. You gave so much to Sarutobi, why didn't you leave some for me? You know, the total number of genetic enhancement fluids announced is only 50. It's all given to Sarutobi, so what will Danzo do? Fortunately, Orochimaru has been prepared. In this month, he has made a lot of strengthening fluids and repair fluids. And since he decided to get close to Danzo, Orochimaru had already thought about how to deal with this situation. Although Danzo was competing with Sarutobi, he was very suspicious. Seeing that he had lied to Sarutobi, he would definitely be wary of himself. So in order to dispel Danzo's doubts, Maru needs his own rhetoric. Orochimaru, you really did not disappoint me. Sure enough, after hearing Orochimaru's words, Danzo had no doubt that he was there, and was very satisfied. However, Orochimaru seemed not to have heard him, ignored him, and continued to do his own experiments. Talking too much at this time, on the contrary, not so good. Seeing that Orochimaru stopped talking, Danzo was sensible and didn't bother him anymore. Anyway, his goal had been achieved. He opened the box and saw 10. Although it wasn't much, it was enough. Danzo nodded with satisfaction. Nodding, he left the secret laboratory with 10 bottles of strengthening liquid and left the secret laboratory with satisfaction. Seeing Danzo leaving, Orochimaru suddenly felt a little funny. They also used some of the defective products he made as treasures? It was also quite interesting. In fact, investing Danzo, for Orochimaru, has more benefits than investing in the village. Because maybe one day Danzo will be happy and take himself to study the Book of Sealing. Therefore, Orochimaru will not think too much at all. Anyway, this thing is not only weakened, but also only effective for the first time. For him, apart from being used for trading, it has no use at all. But seeing that they attach so much importance to this thing, Orochimaru's heart, it's still a little weird. This feeling can't be explained, but it just makes him feel so good and swollen. Time, in Orochimaru's research, passed day by day. Konoha also compiled statistics on the use of genetic enhancement fluids. The amount of chakra increased by 20%-100%, the fluctuation is a bit large, but in fact the effect is the same. Orochimaru naturally explained this. The more the amount of chakra is increased, the worse the person's genes are. The less the chakra is increased, the better the person's genes are. This explanation was reasonable, and everyone accepted it easily. The only one who couldn't accept it was Tsunade. Her chakra amount increased by about 40%, while Jiraiya's increased by about 30%. This data caused her to collapse. Although she herself gained a little more, according to Orochimaru's genetic theory, doesn't it mean that her genes are not as good as Jiraiya's? In fact, Orochimaru was even more speechless after seeing this data. Because the ones he used for these two people were as genuine as his own. The amount of chakra he increased was 50%. Did he say anything? Moreover, Tsunade did not inherit the excellent genes of the Senjo clan, and 40% of them were already among the top batch in Konoha. Of course, Orochimaru doesn't care anymore. Anyway, he is now in the intermediate strengthening stage, and he has also integrated the genes of the first generation Hokage, and is stronger than them in this regard. Time flies, and the years fly by. Half a year is coming in a blink of an eye. In the afternoon, at the secret experimental base 5 kilometers away from Konoha, Orochimaru smiled and looked at a white mouse in the cage in front of him. Come on, show me your power. The mouse seemed to be able to understand Orochimaru's words. It stood upright, put its front paws together, and then suddenly stretched out one hand. Phew! A piece of wood the size of a chopstick shot out from its right paw. Ding! The genetic modification experiment was successful. Technology at this stage, cloning technology. The next stage of technology, advanced genetic enhancement fluid. Haha, it's finally done. Seeing the technology unlocked in the next stage, Orochimaru smiled with satisfaction. Well, it was indeed the little white mouse who used the wood release. There is no doubt about it. Although it is just a simple wooden bar and has no power at all, it is still completed. Transformation, right? For genetic modification, Orochimaru did not use human bodies because this technology had little effect on him. What he needed was to quickly obtain the next technology. Therefore, he looked for experimental subjects with shorter cycles and faster growth rates. Fast little white rat larvae. Anyway, as long as the transformation is successfully completed, the system will determine that the experiment is successful, regardless of whether Orochimaru is transforming humans or animals. So in half a year, Orochimaru successfully completed the genetic transformation of the white rat. 102 white mice were put into the experiment at the same time. In the end, one of the white mice was successfully grown from childhood to adulthood, and also possessed the ability to escape from wood. Although only one survived, it was enough for Orochimaru to complete the task. When he used his mental power to control the white mouse to use wood release, the cloning technology was unlocked and the advanced gene enhancement fluid appeared. Seeing the advanced gene enhancement fluid technology, Orochimaru was very satisfied. Sure enough, whatever technology one want, what kind of technology will come next? Orochimaru had doubts before. Why was the first technology he unlocked a primary gene enhancement solution instead of a simpler and cheaper gene repair solution? Now I understand. Whatever technology you want, the system will place this technology or the prerequisite technology of this technology next to the current technology. As long as you unlock the current technology, you can see it in the next technology. What is front-end technology? For example, at the beginning, when I wanted to have the body of an immortal, the system was the first to give me the primary strengthening fluid. Because the primary strengthening liquid is the basis for obtaining the body of an immortal. But now, Orochimaru wants to create a high-level genetic enhancement liquid, so on the premise of having an intermediate enhancement liquid, as long as the current skill genetic modification is completed, the production program of the high-level enhancement liquid can be directly obtained. Why does Orochimaru want this? It's not because of anything else, it's just because it's related to the previously fused cells of the first Hokage. Without strengthening the body to a high level, the power of the first Hokage cannot be fully used, and only inferior wood escape ninjutsu can be used. This was a problem he discovered after he merged with the genes of the first generation Hokage. As a researcher, what can I do if I don't solve this problem? That's why he chose to do a quick mission and get the advanced genetic enhancement fluid out first. Now, this strengthening liquid is out, but the cloning technology must be completed first. There is nothing wrong with cloning technology. Just the task of cloning technology left Orochimaru speechless. Do you need to clone an identical person? Yes, it must be a person, no matter who it is, as long as it is a person, it can complete this task. Cloning, as everyone knows, is another name for replicating people. His appearance is, in principle, exactly the same as his true form. This is true no matter how much you copy. The only thing different from the main body may be the invisible memory and skills. So now the question is, who do you want to clone? According to common sense, when cultivating a clone, the clone's growth time should be the same as the original clone. For example, if the original body is 15 years old, then the clone needs 15 years to grow. But everyone knows that this is only theoretical. Any scientific researcher working on this technology has a way to accelerate the growth of clones. Orochimaru is naturally no exception. His choice was to use the huge vitality of the first-generation Hokage cells to accelerate the growth of the clone. However, the cells of the first Hokage are powerful. If you want the clone to grow stably, you must suppress this power and control the clone's growth rate at the same time. According to Orochimaru's estimation, it would take about half a year to cultivate a clone using the cells of the first Hokage. And it's not guaranteed to succeed. The most important thing is that I have to rewrite certain memories for these clones. Such a waste of effort, it would be such a loss if only one Zhanwu Jia was produced in the end. Therefore, he needs to choose an ontology for cloning in all aspects. Choose yourself? That's bullshit. Although I now fully meet Takashi's standards, as an ambitious and ideal scientific researcher, I can only be the boss. How can I be the mass-produced junior? Therefore, this ontology can only be someone else. And it has to be someone you're not familiar with. Otherwise, seeing a group of Jiraiya appear in front of him, Orochimaru would probably have nightmares at night. But who is better to clone? After thinking about it for a long time, Orochimaru couldn't think of a suitable candidate, so he finally decided to go back to Konoha first. Well, before returning to the village, first trample the successfully transformed rats to death. There is no need for Danzo to know this technique yet. Konoha, to Orochimaru now, is really too familiar. Walking alone on the street. Well, no one knows him. Even in the graduation exam, the performance of the three of them shocked the entire forest of death. But after half a year, people have already forgotten the three of them. This is especially true since Orochimaru has not shown much publicity during this period. Of course, don't think that Orochimaru will be tired after doing experiments for so long. In fact, experiments like genetic modification only involve surgery at the beginning. What follows is long-term observation and recording, which does not require much energy at all. Orochimaru was thinking about which ninja he needed to copy along the way. If you really can't find anyone, just find someone at random. With his current ability, even if he finds a genin, he can easily transform him into a jonin level. Strengthen his genes, and then use the strengthened body with the gene fusion fluid. Whatever abilities you want him to have, he can have whatever abilities you want him to have. After completing this, divide the cells and start cloning. Don't be too simple. Well, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Orochimaru, how did the experiment go? As soon as he entered Gen's headquarters, Danzo couldn't help but ask. There was no way, wood release was too important to Danzo, and he had to take this experiment seriously. Orochimaru said casually, cell cultivation it takes time, and now I've hit a bottleneck. I'm going to go shopping and look for inspiration. I am the root here. What inspiration can you find when you come to me? Danzo said calmly. There was no emotion or anger in his tone, but anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was helpless towards Orochimaru. Although Orochimaru had no disrespect towards him, he did not have the respect that a subordinate should have for his superior. This doesn't feel good at all to Danzo. But he can't help it, because half of his chips are now on Orochimaru. After hearing Danzo's words, Orochimaru spread his hands. Who knows, well, maybe you can stretch your muscles and find some inspiration. Are you looking for someone to compete with? That's pretty much what it means. I've been here for so long and I still haven't experienced the fighting power of your subordinates. I see. Danzo nodded slightly. Let's go, I'll take you down, just to see if your strength has deteriorated. Danzo knows Orochimaru's record in the Chunin exams very well. He knows that this guy can cooperate with his giant python to deal with Jounin. Although it is impossible for him to channel such a big python underground, after all, Orochimaru his strength was there, so he didn't worry at all. Danzo led the way, Orochimaru followed, and the journey was naturally smooth. When he arrived at Gen's training room, 40 or 50 people were training inside. Whoever you want to be your opponent, pick it yourself. Danzo said calmly. Orochimaru nodded and glanced quickly. You, and you, Why is there a little girl? She is my latest adoptee and has just been trained. Is that so? Looking at the little girl with brown hair and glasses in front of him, Orochimaru suddenly thought of something. What's her name? Nanoyu, pharmacist Nanoyu.